We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. Happy week 7. It's the Bypocalypse, guys. The most bye weeks you could possibly imagine in 1 week. We are here. It is the Bypocalypse week. There's a lot of start-sit decisions that are going to make or break your fantasy season today. Happy week 7, everyone. Good morning. We're live on TikTok. We are live on YouTube. We already got some questions in the YouTube chat. I will pull up. Let's start here with my top 10 quarterbacks of the day. We have top 10 rankings on the YouTube live. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. I'm going to show my picks against the spread on the YouTube live coming up soon. The man, the myth, the legend. I love your app. Wow, thanks, man. Medwa, good morning. Happy week 7. It is the Bypocalypse week. I mean, so many buys. This is going to be, I got to admit, I'm very transparent with my fantasy football performances, and this is going to be an absolutely brutal week for Sam. I do not look at bye weeks when I draft. I think this is actually one of the small advantages I have in fantasy football, and I do think fantasy football is a game of finding small advantages. And I believe ignoring bye weeks during your draft is a small advantage. I just want the best players. I'm not going to draft someone with a tiebreaker of a bye week. My tiebreaker is upside. That's why I was drafting DeAndre Swift in the 3rd and 4th rounds without considering bye weeks. But part of the problem with that strategy this season is week 7, because every single team is on bye in week 7. We have the Chargers on bye, the Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers. There's like 10 running backs that usually would be in the top 10 of running backs that are on bye this week. Brutal. It's brutal. But you should probably still feel okay long term if you have players on bye this week, because these are good players for fantasy. And every player has a bye. I would rather have the best players in fantasy than not have the best players in fantasy. This is why I ignore bye weeks when I'm drafting. But this season, week 7, just going to be absolutely brutal. All right, we're going to get to a lot of your questions today. I'm sure there's a lot of pretty difficult questions in the Bypocalypse week 7. But if you come to the YouTube live, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. I'll be live almost right up until kickoff. So we got plenty of morning to make our decisions. You can find my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends all on the YouTube live stream. I'm already seeing some questions about Kyler Murray today. You can't bench Kyler Murray. There are some absolutely insane spreads this week, though. Let me pull up my picks against the spread. There's going to be at least one game that is over, like, in the first half this week. We have 2 massive favorites. We have, first, the Lions are 16.5-point underdogs against the Rams. 16.5 points in the NFL is just absolutely asinine. 16.5. I'm going to go with the Lions there. There's just too many points. But there's definitely a chance that the Rams, and in a hashtag revenge game for Matthew Stafford, hashtag revenge game for Jared Goff too, this is going to be a very fun game. Rams versus the Lions. And there's no way the Rams are going to cover a 16.5-point spread. I mean, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. But it's just too big of a spread for me to wrap my head around. I think there's an even bigger spread this week, though, and that's the Cardinals are 18-point favorites against the Texans. So we have 2 of the best teams in the NFL against 2 of the worst teams in the NFL this week, on top of the Bypocalypse, which is even more concerning for a lot of the players in this game. What happens in this game if the Cardinals are up by 3 scores in the 3rd quarter, or the Rams are up by 3 scores in the 3rd quarter? Are they going to bench Darrell Henderson and Chase Edmonds, guys that have been dealing with injuries but usually have pretty good volume in the passing game? It's going to be a very interesting week. Bypocalypse week 7. All right, do you think Ridley will pop off? Yeah, Ridley's going to pop off. Ridley has been one of the most obvious buy low candidates in fantasy football since week 1. He's top 5 in the league in targets per game. He's top 5 in the league in air yards per game. And he's not top 5 in the league in fantasy points per game. He's closer to top 25. So, yeah, I mean, something's got to give for Calvin Ridley. The volume's there. Volume is king in fantasy football. All right, thoughts on Mike Davis? Yeah, it is Mike Davis week. If you're watching live on TikTok, you see Mike Davis behind me. It's Mike Davis week. He gets the Miami Dolphins, who have been a bottom 5 rushing defense every single week so far this season. Every single team has dominated the Dolphins on the ground. And the Falcons are going to do so this week, and it's going to be a Mike Davis week. We know the role for the Falcons for Mike Davis. He's seeing at least 10 carries every single game. Cordero Patterson has been better than Mike Davis in fantasy football, but in real football, Mike Davis is the starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons, and he is the one that's going to eat against Miami Dolphins. I like Cordero Patterson too this week, though. I like both of them. But I think this is a week, especially with the Bypocalypse, that you can feel better about Mike Davis. All right, we're going to get to some questions in the chat. Let me pull up really quickly my top 10 running backs this week on YouTube. Again, you can see my top 10 rankings on the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. We're live for the next few hours, right up till kickoff. Going to answer as many of your questions as I can. But there's a lot of good games this week, and there's a lot of teams on bye. So we're going to have some difficult decisions, I'm sure, to make in a lot of these start decisions. All right, let's take a look. Jacoby Myers or Michael Pittman. Yeah, Jacoby Myers. Guys, Jacoby Myers is like less than 50 yards away from breaking the NFL record for the most yards in NFL history without a touchdown. He's going to have the most yards ever without it. The last touchdown Jacoby Myers scored was in college. And he actually scored last week, but it got called back for, I think it was a holding penalty. Just brutal. But I still would go Jacoby Myers over Michael Pittman. By the way, we have our first real weather report of the season. I'm very excited for this. The 49ers versus the Colts. This is the game tonight, Sunday night. We have wind over 25 miles an hour. Now, I've done a lot of research on weather and how it impacts NFL performances, because this is always a thing every fantasy season. We got to know how much is this rainy game going to impact the receivers in this game. But all the research I've done says that the biggest impact, by far, the only statistically significant impact on NFL player performances when it comes to the weather is wind over 25 miles an hour. And we have that tonight, 49ers versus the Colts. It's going to be downpour and wind. And we've actually had in the past players complain about the 49ers stadium and the field conditions when it rains. So yeah, you got to downgrade all the pass catchers in this game. Deebo Samuel needs to be downgraded. I still think in the Bypocalypse, you're probably going to have to start him. Ayuka the Bazooka, this is not the week to be expecting an Ayuka the Bazooka bounce back. We should not be expecting much out of Michael Pittman or Carson Wentz. You can still feel really good, I think, about the running backs. Jonathan Taylor, I think Elijah Mitchell are all pretty much must starts. But yeah, this weather is going to be bad, guys, on Sunday night. It could be a very, very ugly passing game from both the Colts and the 49ers. And I think you do have to consider it. Wind over 25 miles an hour with the downpouring rain, it is just going to be hard to throw. That's the bottom line. So I would not be starting Michael Pittman this week. I would start Jacoby Myers over him, for example. Stream QB, Joe Burrow or Sam Darnold. I'm excited for Joe Burrow this week. I'm taking the Bengals. I think they were plus 6.5. Yeah, the plus 6.5 versus the Ravens. The Ravens defense has been good, but Joe Burrow has been very good. Joe Burrow has looked extremely efficient, and Jamar Chase is absolutely balling out. By the way, my rookie models, I went back and looked at this morning. My rookie models had Jamar Chase ranked as the #1 rookie receiver, which I'm feeling pretty good about right now. But yeah, I would go Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow just has way more of a ceiling than Sam Darnold this week. Julio or Waddle. Julio Jones is just becoming such a headache right now in fantasy football. He says he feels good. He's still questionable for this game. But this is a game against the Chiefs for the Titans. And you want pieces of this game, guys. The Chiefs-Titans game has by far the highest upside of any game this week. It's two defenses that cannot stop anyone versus two offenses that are really good. It's like two top 10 defenses versus two bottom 10 defense. Two top 10 offenses versus two bottom 10 defenses. The Titans versus the Chiefs. You need pieces of this game. So I'd probably go Julio Jones, even if you have Jalen Waddle, who did really well last week and is looking good with Tua. All right, DFS lineups. Yeah, let me pull this up. I actually made a little thing ahead of time for this. My DraftKings lineup this week, I've lost 2 straight in my DraftKings league. I've been above the league average in points, but I've had tough matchups, and you got to win the tough matchups. So I got to get a win this week. And speaking of the Chiefs-Titans game, I'm going with a lot of Chiefs-Titans players this week. I think you need at least 3, essentially, in all your DraftKings FanDuel lineups this week, because the Chiefs-Titans game just has such a high scoring upside that you can't miss out on it. And if you do miss out on it, you're probably not going to win your matchup on DraftKings and FanDuel this week. So I'm paying down for Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. I'm going with Darrell Henderson and Chuba Hubbard at running back. Chuba Hubbard is set to smash this week against the Giants. I think the Panthers covered that 3-point spread, by the way, pretty easily. My third running back, actually, my flex spot is James Conner. The Cardinals are 18-point favorites against the Texans. That sets up perfectly for James Conner, who's clearly the early down rushing role in the Cardinals offense. And they're not going to want to put Chase Edmonds on the field as much if he's dealing with an injury and they're up multiple scores in the third quarter. That's going to be James Conner, who's fully healthy right now. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. Smash the like button. When we get to 200 likes on the YouTube live, we got a free prop pick today. Darnell Mooney, last Sunday, just missed. Absolutely brutal from Darnell Mooney. I think he was like 3 yards short. We're about 50% now on the free prop picks this season. All right, finishing out the DraftKings lineup, Calvin Ridley's due for a bounce-back game. And he is, to me, one of the safest assets in fantasy football still. And the Dolphins really are nothing to fear on defense. My other receivers that are helping me pay up for a lot of these studs in my lineup, Rashad Bateman, he's like almost minimum priced on DraftKings. Rashad Bateman, guys, he probably would have been my number 2 rookie wide receiver ahead of Devontae Smith had he not gotten hurt. He's really good at everything. And Lamar Jackson has been more aggressive passing the ball this season. The Bengals defense has been good, but I'm going to lean towards betting on Lamar whenever I possibly can. So I'm going with Rashad Bateman in almost every single DraftKings lineup today because he's priced so low. He only needs like 50 yards to return value. And he could easily clear 50 yards. And then I'm going with Mecole Hardman, Travis Kelce to wrap up the lineup. In Patriots defense against Zach Wilson, who threw 4 interceptions against the Patriots last time they played. This time it's in New England. I'm nervous about the Pats, by the way, though. Every single game for the Patriots has been close. Just every single game is close. I think that the Patriots realistically could lose to every single team in the NFL, and they also could beat, I think, any team in the NFL on any given day. It's just a brutal time to be a Patriots fan. A brutal time to be a Boston fan. The Celtics losing by 32, the Red Sox blowing it in the ALCS, and the Patriots 2-4. I mean, Boston sports is changing, guys. Start Pitts or Waller. Yeah, if you didn't see the news this morning, Darren Waller is very questionable today. He might not play. Darren Waller might not play today. He apparently was not feeling good, and it's an ankle injury, I believe. Not a good sign for Darren Waller. I think you want to get Darren Waller out of your lineups. There's going to be a news update at some point during the stream about whether or not he's playing, because I think they do play at 1 o'clock. So I'll keep you updated on that. But right now, you don't want to have Darren Waller in your lineups. Prediction for James Conner. Yeah, I have James Conner in my DraftKings lineup today. I think he scores a touchdown. I don't know how many yards he's going to get. I think the over-under is around 50. I think it's like 45.5 or something for the yards. I would guess around 40 to 50 yards. But he could easily get more. Sam, how's it going? Also, nice WalterPicks hat. Yeah, thanks. You can actually, there's gear for WalterPicks on the WalterPicks website, walterpicks.com. Just click on the store. But yeah, it's getting cold in Boston. It's officially fall. So I'm pumped to have the beanie on today. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sit Corey Davis, bro. Yeah, I mean, Corey Davis has also been a headache in fantasy football this season. And there's 2 sides to every start-sit decision, of course, and it's Bypocalypse week. And Corey Davis appears to be the number 1 receiver for the Jets. But any given week now, I won't be surprised if Jamison Elite Crowder out-targets Corey Davis. The last time the Patriots played the Jets, 2 passes bounced directly off of Corey Davis' hands and directly into the Patriots' defense's hands. So we'll see if he can bounce back from that. Cardinals defense or Tampa Bay defense? Yeah, the Cardinals up against the Texans. I think you got to go with that. Tampa Bay defense is also looking good, but I actually think the Bears can make this an interesting game. The Bears defense is good, and I think this game could end up being close. But yeah, the Buccaneers defense isn't a bad option. I would lean towards the Cardinals, though. They're 18-point favorites. That's just insane. 18 points in the NFL? I honestly don't remember a time where we've seen something like this. This is how bad the Texans are this season. I can't believe they won a game. That's how bad the Jaguars were week 1. All right, Khalil Herbert. Oh, I got a Khalil Herbert question here. I want to get to this one. Or Damian Williams. Oh, God. I mean, flip a coin. I would lean towards Damian Williams over Khalil Herbert, but I don't like either of them this week. I think Damian Williams just has more receiving upside against the Buccaneers. But we know you don't want to play running backs against the Buccaneers. If Waller is out, who should I go with, Howard, Henry, or Kmet? OJ Howard's not a bad option if he plays this week. Antonio Brown is out this week, and that's a big deal because Rob Gronkowski is also out. And Antonio Brown was getting a lot of the short targets for the Buccaneers with Gronk out. So where are those targets going to go? They could go to OJ Howard. We're going to see more volume, I think, towards Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think both those guys are auto locks into your lineup this week. So I would say OJ Howard. I think Hunter Henry is a decent option as well, though. I think Hunter Henry is actually in my top 10 tight ends. Let me pull up my top 10 tight end rankings on the YouTube Live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Seriously, I think time is the most valuable thing we have in life. So I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. Going to be a good Sunday Bypocalypse week, which means a lot of interesting decisions for your fantasy football teams. All right, let's get back to some of the question. Half my team is on bye. Damian Williams, Darius Slayton, or Jamison Elite Crowder. Yeah, I would probably go Jamison Crowder. The Patriots are also without their slot corner this week. It actually could be without their slot corner for an extended period of time. And that's exactly where Jamison Crowder plays. So I think I would go Jamison Crowder. Half of my team is on bye, says Brandon. Yeah, Brandon, you are not alone. You are not alone. Everyone is in this Bypocalypse together. We are live on TikTok and YouTube. If you want to see my top 10 rankings, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, picks against the spread, and my DraftKings lineup, you can come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can today. It's Sunday, guys. That means we got a lot of football coming on our television screens very soon. All right. We got a Marquez Callaway, Darnell Mooney, Hunter Renfrow question here. I don't know how you can be trusting Saints wide receivers at this point. I know they have had some big plays, but the Saints just are not throwing the ball nearly enough to have any sort of hope, consistent hope for these receivers. It's actually going to be a very interesting thing to monitor for when Michael Thomas, the slant king, returns. Because if this volume does not increase as a team, none of these receivers can be consistent in fantasy football. Hunter Renfrow is the safest option here, especially with Darren Waller now looking very questionable for today. I would say if I had to guess right now, Darren Waller's not going to play. We still haven't confirmed that yet, so we got to monitor that as we get closer to kickoff. But I would lean Hunter Renfrow first. Then I'd probably say Darnell Mooney. Then I would probably go Marcus Callaway, Brendan. Good luck during the Bypocalypse. All right. Matt Ryan or Aaron Rodgers. Guys, don't bench Aaron Rodgers today. I really do not think you can bench Aaron Rodgers today. Almost every quarterback has dominated Washington in their last few games. I think they've allowed 4 straight top 10 quarterback finishes. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a top 10 quarterback this week. Let me pull up my top 10 quarterbacks really quickly, and you're going to see Aaron Rodgers somewhere in there. Because Aaron Rodgers is basically a lock against the Washington football team. There's not very many quarterbacks I'm going to start over Aaron Rodgers. I think I have him ranked number 6 this week. Honestly, I would probably play him over Tom Brady too, so I might move him up to 5. Tua or Matt Ryan? Pick 2 wideouts, A-Rob Bateman or T. Higgins. Jonah, thanks for tuning in, man. And by the way, if I answer your question today, or even if I just give any sort of insight that's helpful for you, the number one way I'm asking you to help me out today is a 5-star review in the iOS App Store for the WalterPicks app. We're trying to pass 5,000 5-star reviews. We're over halfway there. And it takes you like 2 seconds. WalterPicks in the iOS App Store. I do appreciate that. All right. Tua or Matt Ryan? Pick 2 wideouts, A-Rob Bateman or T. Higgins. Yeah, I would definitely go Matt Ryan over Tua. I think Tua could have a good game. I do. And he threw for over 300 yards last game, quietly. Tua is easily like way too hated on in the NFL. He gets so much hate. And he really is in a tough situation. But he has a good matchup this week. I would still go Matt Ryan, though. I think Matt Ryan's the much safer pick. And I actually think the Dolphins' defense is worse than the Falcons' defense. And that's pretty hard to say. But that's how bad the Dolphins' defense is. 2 wideouts, A-Rob, Bateman, or T. Higgins. Yeah, I think you have to go T. Higgins and A-Rob over Bateman. I like Bateman this week. I do like Bateman this week. I'm playing Bateman in my DraftKings lineup. That's because he's priced so low. He's almost minimum priced on DraftKings. I do think Bateman is in a good spot this week, though, with no Sammy Watkins. And Rashad Bateman's good, guys. He was picked in the first round for a reason. Damian Williams or Mark Ingram, non-PPR. Yuck. Oh, God. Mark Ingram as an 18-point underdog is just not something I would ever want to do in fantasy football. 18-point underdog for Mark Ingram, who does not catch passes. So, yeah, you can't start Mark Ingram. You have to go Damian Williams. Hey, Sam, love the app, but I need your help. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, you got to go try it out. Link is in the YouTube bio. Link is in the TikTok bio as well. Let's see this question, though. You're 1-5 and don't know what to do. Yeah, this is not 1-5 is not a good place to be during the Bypocalypse. Rodgers, Zeke, Elijah Mitchell, AJ Brown, Amari Cooper, and Sanders / Waller / Waddle / Marvin Jones at flex. Is this a start-sit question or just like a general overarching what should I do with this team question? Because I think that you have a good team. I wouldn't be selling Zeke right now either. And Elijah Mitchell's the running back one for a pretty good rushing team. A lot of teams with AJ Brown are struggling too. AJ Brown is back. So I would probably just hold tight and hope to turn it around. Love the app. Gave it a 5-star review. Thank you so much. Seriously, helps out so much more than you could possibly realize. Should I play Waller, Gesicki, or Higbee? Yeah, right now it's looking like you can't play Darren Waller. He apparently said he's not feeling good. He has an ankle injury. He's going to test it out pregame. But it seems like it's trending in the wrong direction for Darren Waller right now. So I think you go Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki's been really good. Let me pull up my top 10 tight ends. I think Gesicki and Tyler Higbee were both on the top 10. Yeah, they were. I would go Mike Gesicki. I have him ranked as my number 7 tight end this week. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Link is in the TikTok bio to come to the YouTube live. I think some quarterbacks that you need to start this week. Let's just run through really quickly some players I think you absolutely need to start. You need to start, as always, Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. No Josh Allen this week, but those are the 3 guys every week you got to start. Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers, I think, are also must starts. I think Aaron Rodgers against this Washington team, probably going to be a top 5 quarterback this week. After that, Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, both really, really good options. Jalen Hurts averaging over 20 fantasy points per game, one of the best late round picks in fantasy this season. And Ryan Tannehill's just up against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs can't stop anyone. They stopped Taylor Heineke last week. That's the only quarterback they've stopped all season. So you got to feel good about Ryan Tannehill with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown expected to play. At the running back position, Chuba Hubbard's looking like the best waiver wire ad of the season, and honestly, it's not that close. He's a top 6 running back this week in fantasy football. Chuba Hubbard is going to see at least 15 touches again this week. He's a running back 1, guys, and he should be started in every single league. Another running back that I think could have a really big day, DeAndre Swift, is a 16.5-point underdog against the Rams. The Lions are going to be down in this game. That's going to be huge for DeAndre Swift, who, by the way, is leading the league in receiving yards at the running back position. DeAndre Swift was one of the best draft picks in PPR leagues that we had this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown, seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown questions in the TikTok chat. That's how you know it's officially the Bypocalypse week. By far the worst week for the Bypocalypse. All right, let's see what this question is. With Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm just scrolling up here to get back to this question. Amon-Ra St. Brown, there it was. Crowder or Lockett? Yeah, you got to go. You just have to go Lockett there. I think you got to go Lockett. All right, guys, we are live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to get to as many questions as we possibly can. You can also see my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, picks against the spread on the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. We'll be live right up to kickoff. I'm seeing a lot of Darren Waller questions. And I think right now my blanket statement for Darren Waller is you have to bench him at this current moment. We're going to get an update at some point during this live. So I'm sure I'm following along on Twitter. I'm sure there's going to be an update before the kickoff of the Raiders game. And I will be sure to keep you updated. But right now, it does not look good. It does not look good. So I think you should get him out of your lineups. He said he is not feeling good. He is not feeling good. He's going to be a true game time decision today. That's not what we wanted to hear about Darren Waller. Yo, is Darren Waller going to play? Yeah, I don't think he is. But we do not know officially yet because he's going to be a game time decision. All right, let's get back to some of these questions. Top 10 receivers. Ellen, pull up my top 10 wide receivers. I think, guys, Tyreek Hill's been dealing with a hamstring injury, but he's seen 12 targets in each of his last 3 games, at least 12. And if he sees 12 targets today against the Titans, he's going over 100 yards with ease. That's how good Tyreek Hill is and how bad the Titans secondary is. I'm telling you, there's going to be so many points scored in this Chiefs-Titans game. I can't wait to watch that game. I think that's the best game of the week. All right, hey, Sam, love the app. Pick 2, T. Higgins, Devontae Smith, Tyler Lockett. Yeah, you got to go Devontae Smith. Even in what looks like a difficult matchup against the Raiders, Devontae Smith's air yards just make him a top 15 upside play every single week. So you got to go Devontae Smith. And honestly, T. Higgins versus Tyler Lockett's really close. The Ravens' defense has been good, but I'm just going to go Joe Burrow over Geno Smith. Like, I really do think quarterback is a really good tiebreaker when you're thinking about your wide receivers. because they really are tethered to their quarterback. And I want Joe Burrow over Geno Smith just all day long. So I think I'm going to go T. Higgins there. Good morning, Sam. I'm hyped for this week in fantasy football considering the buys. Yeah, good morning. One question. Considering AB and Gronk are out, would I start Evans over Chase? Also, is Debo a must start? Yeah, the bye weeks make things fun, man. And I think that Antonio Brown and Gronk being out is actually massive. I think it's huge. I think you do have to start Evans over Chase. I have Evans as a top 10 wide receiver this week. I don't have Chase as a top 10 wide receiver this week. Chase has a tough matchup. The Ravens secondary has been pretty good this season. But I do think Evans, Godwin, and honestly, O.J. Howard, Tyler Johnson can be considered as well. But Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both should see at least 10 targets today. And that alone is enough to warrant them into your starting lineups, especially on a week like this week. Premium sub. Thank you so much for being a premium subscriber. Seriously, it's the number one way you could possibly help me is doing one of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store. Coming to Android very soon, by the way. I feel very confident, Android people, that the WalterPicks app will be on Android in the next month. I feel very confident about that. All right, Jacoby or Devontae Booker or Myles Gaskin, 3-month subscriber. Wow, thanks, man. Jacoby or Devontae Booker or Myles Gaskin. Guys, you cannot start Myles Gaskin. Even during the Bypocalypse, get Myles Gaskin as far away from your starting lineups as you possibly can. And I know I said that a couple weeks ago when he dropped 30 points and he had to Christian McCaffrey like 10 catches. But that's just not going to be Myles Gaskin's role every week. It's very clear. He's playing less than half the snaps for the Dolphins. He does not have the goal line role, and he doesn't even have most of the first down carries in this offense. They really are splitting it up. And Ahmed is a part of the receiving game as well. So you just can't start Myles Gaskin. I would probably go with Jacoby Myers. I'd go with Jacoby Myers. I do like Devontae Booker for the Giants, but I also think the Panthers are going to beat the Giants pretty good. And the Panthers' run defense has also been really good. So, yeah, I would go Jacoby Myers. All right. Should I start Sterling Shepard over Terry McLaurin? No, you shouldn't. You go into the Pats game, Ryan. No, I can't go to the 1 o'clock games because I work basically right up till 1 o'clock. So I can only go to games that are 4 o'clock or later. This is just one of the sacrifices that I got to make, Ryan. But honestly, the Patriots games have been just brutally painful for Patriots fans this season. Smash the like button, Ryan. Yeah, thank you. We are live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. When we get to 200 likes on YouTube, we got a free prop pick of the day coming at you, and I'm feeling really good about it today. I like this prop pick today. Bro, what do I do with Gibson this week? I can start Booker in his spot. Yet everything is starting to trend in actually a positive direction for Antonio Gibson. I actually traded Antonio Gibson away this week. I sent a very well-timed trade of Antonio Gibson and Antonio Brown. I received Nick Chubb. I received Nick Chubb in return for Antonio Gibson and Antonio Brown. I received Nick Chubb and Mike Evans, actually. Feeling pretty good about that trade right now. But, yeah, I think you still have to start Antonio Gibson this week. Everything's trending in a good direction for his shin, and that's a good thing. Washington's in a tough matchup this week against the Packers, which could mean more J.D. McKissic. But in Bypocalypse, I would still go Antonio Gibson over a guy like Devontae Booker, who also is in a tough matchup this week. TB12 or Rodgers. Yeah, I think in my rankings, I have Tom Brady like one spot ahead of Aaron Rodgers, but I would actually play Aaron Rodgers ahead of Tom Brady. The matchup is much better for Aaron Rodgers. I think the Bears could keep this game closer than people expect, and I do think that Aaron Rodgers is going to finish as a top 10 quarterback with ease this week. There's been 4 straight top 10 quarterbacks playing against Washington defense. The Washington defense really has not been good this season. James Conner or Elijah Mitchell? This one's tough. I think that I would lean James Conner. I think James Conner is much safer than Elijah Mitchell this week. The weather is going to impact this game. If you're just tuning in, every season I get to part-time as a weather reporter on these live streams because there's always weather that comes up throughout the season that does impact fantasy football. There's not that much of it, but there is some. And it's important that we don't overreact to weather that looks bad but actually isn't that bad. But every season there actually will be bad weather that you need to know about for fantasy football. And this week there is a game that you need to know about in terms of the weather. And it is the 49ers versus the Colts. That's the game tonight. There's going to be wind over 30 miles an hour at points in this game and absolutely downpour rain. And there's been, in the past, players have complained about the 49ers field when it rains. It's going to be a brutal game for passing. It's probably going to be a better game for running. But also defenses know they're going to run more in this game. So I think Elijah Mitchell and everyone else in this game comes with a little bit more risk, especially the receivers, though. Freeman or Damian Williams. Yeah, don't start Freeman. I just do not start Freeman. I know the Ravens run the Ravens rushing attack is so good that literally any running back can succeed in this offense, but you can't start Devontae Freeman. Gaskin, Michael Carter, or Khalil Herbert PPR. I would probably go Michael Carter, honestly, in that situation. I think Khalil Herbert's a must bench this week, even during the Bypocalypse. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are just not a defense you can play running backs against. You can't play running backs against this defense, especially running backs that aren't going to have that big of a receiving role, which Damian Williams is probably going to have for the Bears. And you can't start Myles Gaskin either, even in a good matchup against the Falcons, because Myles Gaskin could easily score less than 5 fantasy points. Which leads me to Michael Carter, who is the number 1 running back for the Jets, and every single Patriots game has been close. There hasn't been a single game other than the Saints game, which should have been much closer than it was. So I think I would lean towards Michael Carter. Boyd or Herbert at flex? Yeah, Boyd. It's 100% Boyd. But I know Boyd has had back-to-back really bad games. But he's actually against a defense this week that their primary weakness as a defense is defending slot receivers. So, yeah, you got to go with Tyler Boyd. I actually think Tyler Boyd's a much better play than consensus this week. All right. Corey Davis or Bateman? Yeah, I'd go Bateman in this situation. I don't know how you couldn't go. Let me turn the Wi-Fi on for the TikTok live. I don't know how you couldn't go Bateman here. Corey Davis is just as risky as Rashad Bateman. Bateman played, I think, 60% of the snaps. I think we ran a route on like 70% of Lamar Jackson's dropbacks last week. That's his floor this week. That's Rashad Bateman's floor, and his ceiling's much higher. And there's no Sammy Watkins. So yeah, I think I would go Rashad Bateman over Corey Davis this week, and that's probably a bold take. AJ Brown thoughts? Yeah, can we please get AJ Brown? Can someone please get AJ Brown a personal chef, or someone to cook him his food? We don't need AJ Brown eating fast food. We need him to digest his food properly. This is all we need from AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. So can we just get it? Like, get him a chef. Let's pay for a chef. AJ, you got the money to do it. We got to figure out the food situation for AJ Brown, because he's been having stomach issues, and this is really his big issue right now. His knees have not been a problem the last couple of weeks. And once he's out there, he's going to ball out. We saw it last week. He's less than 100%, and he's still dominating good secondaries. And he's not up against a good secondary today. A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, at least one of them, and it looks like they're both going to play today. The Julio is at less than 100%. At least one of them is going to go absolutely off today. The Chiefs secondary cannot stop anyone. Chase or Scary Terry? Yeah, definitely Chase for me. Jamar Chase over Scary Terry. It's pretty clear right now that Jamar Chase is just a much safer option than Terry McLaurin. Devontae Smith or Sterling Shepard? Sterling Shepard's another tough one for me this week. I want to start Sterling Shepard. Sterling Shepard is by far the best Giants receiver playing today. There's no Kadarius Toney. There's no Kenny Golladay. Even Evan Ingram is looking questionable. So it's going to be Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. But Sterling Shepard's also questionable, and he might not play. Like, he is a game-time decision. And that makes me a lot more scared to start Sterling Shepard. But if he plays, I think you should start. Waddle or Smith? Yeah, I'd go Devontae Smith over Jalen Waddle. Waddle has a much better matchup. I would still go Devontae Smith. I would argue that Devontae Smith's ceiling is significantly higher than Jalen Waddle's this week, but the floor for Waddle is probably higher. So if you're looking to be risk averse this week, then go with Jalen Waddle. Guys, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. When we hit 200 likes on the YouTube live, I think we're almost at 100 likes. We will give away another free prop pick today. Shepard or Cooks? Yeah, it's gotta go Cooks. There's just no one else to throw to for the Houston Texans, and the Texans are 18-point underdogs against the Cardinals. So yeah, there's going to be some throwing to Brandon Cooks today. Mike Davis or Elijah Mitchell? It's Mike Davis week, guys. It's Mike Davis week. You got to start Mike Davis this week. It's the Bypocalypse. If you have Mike Davis on your team, why do you have him on your team if you're not going to play him when he plays the Dolphins? The Dolphins' run defense is bottom 5 in the NFL. This is the perfect matchup for Mike Davis. The Falcons are favorites in this game. The Falcons won't be favorites in almost every game they play this season. It's the perfect week for Mike Davis. You need to start Mike Davis. He is the starting running back for the Falcons. I know Cordero Patterson has been much better from a fantasy football perspective, but Mike Davis is the one playing more snaps and getting more carries. So yeah, start Mike Davis. Fantasy football does not need to be hard. Damian Harris or Mike Davis. This is, setting up as a very good Damian Harris week as well. The Patriots are 7-point home favorites against the Jets team that they destroyed the last time they played. They want to run the ball. It's very clear that the Patriots want to be a run-first team, which is a little frustrating as a Patriots fan, but it's good for Damien Harris in fantasy football. And yeah, I think you can start Damien Harris over Mike Davis this week. But I would argue Mike Davis has actually a much better matchup than Damien Harris. The Dolphins' run defense is worse than the Jets' run defense. Guys, the Dolphins could be worse than the Jets. That's how bad the Dolphins have looked. The Dolphins just lost to the Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars beat the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins' defense just looked horrible. Again. Pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. I think that Damien Harris is the guy that you have to project to beat out Mike Davis this week. Like, there's no way you can project Mike Davis for more rushing yards than Damien Harris as a 7-point home favorite. But I won't be surprised at all when Mike Davis outscores Damien Harris this week. Not one bit. Gesicki or Dallas Goedert. I like Gesicki this week. I think Dallas Goedert's also a top 10 option. No more Zach Ertz for Dallas Goedert, which is huge. It is huge. I have Dallas Goedert ranked 6 and Mike Gesicki ranked 7 in my rankings today, though. So I guess I would lean towards Goedert, but it's close. I have Antonio Gibson benched this week. Yeah, Antonio Gibson is dealing with an injury, and he also is in a pretty difficult matchup against the Packers, where the Washington football team is probably going to be trailing for most of the game. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to tear up the Washington defense, who's allowed 4 straight top 10 fantasy football quarterbacks. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to be the 5th straight top 10 fantasy football quarterback against Washington. It's not going to be great news for Antonio Gibson, but the good news for Antonio Gibson is it looks like his injury is trending in a good direction. He's apparently feeling pretty good. So I still think Antonio Gibson can be started in a lot of situations during the Bypocalypse. Everyone is on bye this week. Shepard or Renfro. Again, Shepard, we got to wait for the news and see if Shepard's playing. If Shepard's playing, I would play Shepard over Renfro. But he might not play. Waller may be out. Start Hunter Renfro, yeah, or Hunter Henry, yeah. Yes. Waller, even if he plays, it looks like he's going to be limited. Barkley's out until week 9. Yeah, I'm just reading this as well. Saquon Barkley is coming back very slowly. Outside chance at next week, but he is most likely going to be out till week 9. Tough week, tough season so far for Saquon Barkley. Wait, no way the win speeds are still here, OMG. I remember when you always wrote them in your notebook. Yeah, Yarjma. The win speeds are back, man. The win speeds are back. No notebook now, though. We've upgraded our technology a little bit. I should bring the notebook back, though. I liked writing that down on the notebook. My little weather research every Sunday morning is just a great way to wake up Sunday morning. But guys, we're live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. Link is in the TikTok bio. See my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. If you did not know this yet, this is going to be crucial news for fantasy football this season. And this is going to be, I'm telling you, in a lot of leagues, the difference between wins and losses this week will be who did their research just Sunday morning. And you're already all in this live stream. So you're already all ahead of your league mates this morning. So good job. You got to outwork your league. And today, the big piece of news that I think is going to impact a lot of fantasy football teams, the 49ers versus the Colts, Sunday night football, massive, massive weather implications in this game. There's going to be wind over 30 miles an hour. And I've done statistical research on this. There's a statistically significant impact on NFL offensive performance when we have wind over 25 miles an hour. And we're going to see wind over 30 miles an hour in this game, along with downpouring rain. So you're going to have double weather effects in this game. It's going to be very bad for the passing attack. I think you have to strongly consider benching all of the receivers in this game. There's no T.Y. Hilton for the Colts. I still think Michael Pittman cannot be trusted. I don't think Ayuka the Bazooka, this is the week to expect a bounce back from him. Deebo Samuel is the one guy I still think you can start in most situations because he's one of the best yards after the catch receivers in the NFL. All right, we have a guest request in the TikTok live. And I don't think we're going to test this out now, but I think we're going to do a live stream some point this week where I do welcome up some guests in the TikTok live. There's going to be some strict rules, but I think we're going to test it out. It's like almost like calling into a radio show. We're going to try it out at some point. Should I do this trade? I get Miles Sanders for Brandon Cooks. Yeah, I would do that. I've been saying all week, I think Miles Sanders is one of the most obvious buy low candidates in fantasy football right now. When everyone is so down on one player that they almost automatically become a buy low candidate. But when you look deeper into Miles Sanders, there's actually a lot of encouraging signs for Miles Sanders. And we all have been watching. or if you haven't been watching, Miles Sanders just is not getting the ball enough, right? Like he does well when he touches the ball. He's always been a talented running back. He's just never seen consistent volume in the NFL, period. It's not even just this season. In the past, too, he's just never seen consistent volume. But he's played 92% of the snaps last week for the Eagles. That's a career high for Miles Sanders. And if he continues to play that much, and that was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not a good matchup for running backs in a game where the Eagles were trailing. And Miles Sanders still played almost every single snap in the game. In the one game that the Eagles had a big lead, he was a top 12 running back in week 1. They've been playing really tough teams. They played the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers. That's like 4 of the top 10 teams in the NFL that they've had to go up against for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles could easily win this game this week. They're underdogs against the Raiders. I like the Eagles in this game. And I think that the Miles Sanders is going to be a big benefactor of the Eagles turning it around offensively and just keep being in games. If they're in games, Miles Sanders is going to be a top 15 running back, especially during the Bypocalypse. So, yeah, I would start Miles Sanders over Sterling Shepard. I think Miles Sanders is a good start this week. Ruggs or Crowder? Yeah, I'd probably go Ruggs. I do think Crowder is in a good spot. The Patriots are not – they're not having their top slot corner in this game who's supposed to guard and match up with Jamison Elite Crowder. So he is in a good matchup. And he's a 7-point underdog. But I still think I would go Ruggs, especially with the Waller news. And Zach Wilson just got destroyed by this Pats defense last time they played. Love the app. Connor Ellis, thanks, man. Yeah, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, you got to go try it out. We're using machine learning to give you the best fantasy football projections. Completely free to download, completely free to try out. If you try any of the premium subscriptions in the app, you get a completely free 7-day trial. So try it out. I do appreciate that, Connor. Need a QB because Justin Herbert, Tua, Darnold, Winston, Wentz, or Jones. Yeah, you got to go Herbert. I thought Justin Herbert was out. Yeah, no, the Chargers don't play this week. So not Justin Herbert. Tua, Darnold, Winston, Wentz, or Jones. You cannot start Carson Wentz. You cannot start Carson Wentz this week. Again, big wind expected. Wind and rain. It's going to be a very, very bad passing attack for the Colts tonight and for the 49ers. So definitely not Wentz. I don't think you can go Winston. I would probably go Tua over Darnold. Tua's against the Atlanta Falcons. I like Daniel Jones too, but so many of the Giants pass catchers are out that it really does downgrade Daniel Jones a little bit. Kenny Golladay out. Kadarius Toney out. Saquon Barkley obviously out. Sterling Shepard, questionable game time decision. Like, just brutal for Daniel Jones. I think I would go Tua. Hey, Sam, I got a few questions for you. All right, Don, I'll try to answer at least one of them. Renfro or Mooney for this week? I would probably go Renfro over Mooney. But I do like Mooney, too. I think Mooney has big play upside this week against the Buccaneers. But Renfro's a really safe option with a questionable Darren Waller, who looks like he's trending towards not playing, but even if he plays, he might not be 100%. I think that's a boost for Hunter Renfro for sure. What about Carr or Darnold, Sanders, or Higgins? Wow, yeah, we did have a few questions here. I think I would probably go with Darnold over Carr. But, God, I feel like Derek Carr does have a lot of upside this week. That one's really close. Sanders versus Higgins, I think I would go Sanders. Rashad Penny or Damian Williams? Yeah, guys, Alex Collins looks like he's going to play Monday night. So that really does downgrade Rashad Penny a lot. Rashad Penny could score less than 3 points. I would not be surprised at all. I like Rashad Penny. I've liked Rashad Penny since he entered the league. I thought he was a really good prospect. He was good in college. And he also had a sneaky good receiving profile. Like, he can catch the ball. But Alex Collins is going to play this week. And he's going to be ahead of Rashad Penny, who hasn't really even played like back-to-back games since he entered the league because he's had such bad injury luck. So I think you have to go Damian Williams. And Damian Williams is setting up pretty good as a 11-point underdog against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Myles Gaskin or Devontae Freeman? Oh man, Brandon, this is the definition of Bypocalypse. Myles Gaskin or Devontae Booker. I mean, seriously, you might as well just leave this roster slot empty. No, I'm just kidding. I would probably go with Devontae Booker. I like Devontae Booker more than I like. I'd say I would dislike Myles Gaskin more than I dislike Devontae Booker this week in fantasy football. But both I would not have very high expectations for. Do I drop Damian Williams? Yeah, it depends who you're dropping him for. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be consistent in fantasy. Khalil Herbert's clearly going to be involved. But I would maybe wait one more week because he could have a big receiving role against the Buccaneers this week. Hawkinson or Mike Gesicki? Hawkinson. You're not allowed to bench Mike Hawkinson. I'm leaving if you don't answer. Oh, man. Help. Pick 2 Swift. Let's see here. I got to scroll up for a second. Swift, Gibson, Godwin, Woods, Metcalf, Allen Robinson. DeAndre Swift has to be started. He's a 15-point underdog, 18-point underdog, I think. Multiple touchdown underdog, three possession underdog for DeAndre Swift today, and he's leading the league in receiving yards. So you just have to start. He has at least 5 targets in every game. DeAndre Swift was an absolute smash pick in fantasy football this season in PPR leagues, and he has to be started. He has to be started. All right, let's see who else you should start. It's definitely Chris Godwin. No Antonio Brown, no Rob Gronkowski. Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, both, you have to start them this week. I actually think with Sammy Watkins out, there's a lot of injuries this week that make a lot of guys very startable in fantasy football. Rashad Bateman and Marquise Brown, both pretty much must starts. Tethered to Lamar Jackson, guys, man, I actually put down a small wager on Lamar Jackson to win MVP right now. They have Derrick Henry, Tom Brady ahead of Lamar Jackson in the MVP race. Makes absolutely no sense to me. Lamar Jackson gets such little credit for how good he has been since he entered the league. He is the best running quarterback in the history of the NFL already, and he's really only played 2 full seasons. He has played 2 full seasons, and somehow the jury is out on Lamar Jackson not being an MVP in the NFL. You take Lamar Jackson away from the Baltimore Ravens, and good luck, Baltimore Ravens. I mean, seriously, they would just get crushed in every single game. Lamar Jackson is also clearly more aggressive down the field this season, throwing the ball, which is super exciting. He's number 2 in the NFL in air yards per attempt, which means on average, there's only one quarterback in the NFL throwing it deeper downfield per attempt than Lamar Jackson. And he's still been accurate. He's top 12 in the league in completion percentage, even though he's been more aggressive than almost the entire rest of the league. And it's not like he's doing this with an amazing supporting cast. No team has had worse injuries than the Ravens this season. Yet there they are at the top of the division with only 1 loss. And Lamar Jackson also had one of the best comebacks of the season on Monday Night Football against the Colts, coming down by 16 points in the 4th quarter. Lamar Jackson should win the MVP this season if he keeps this up. And he's a must-start this week. And Rashad Bateman and Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews too. Bateman, Callaway, or Myers. Yeah, I think I would probably lean Myers over Bateman. Is there a weather alert for Monday night? I thought it was the Sunday night game. I'm not 100% positive. Let me pull this up. I'm pretty sure it was the Sunday night game that we had the weather report. Yeah, so it's tonight. There is supposed to be some weather in the Saints-Seahawks game, but it's not even close to what we're expecting tonight in the Colts-49ers game. There's always games. This is the thing with weather. And I actually think understanding how weather impacts fantasy football is a small edge you can gain in fantasy football. This is why I did a statistical research on this. Because again, I think fantasy football is a game of small edges. And one of the edges is, will the weather actually impact this game or will it not? And I did research on this. When there's wind over 25 miles an hour, you got to be concerned about the weather because it does impact games, a statistically significant impact on games. And we have wind over 30 miles an hour in the 49ers-Colts game tonight, along with downpouring rain. Monday night, it's more like 10 to 20 mile an hour winds and also some light rain. So it's not comparable. I wouldn't be worried about the Monday night weather. I am very worried about the Sunday night weather. Hey, Sam, pick 3, DK, Terry, Ridley, Debo Samuel. Yeah, I'd probably just play it safe and go with the first 3 with the weather in the game tonight. I do think Debo Samuel is the guy I'm least worried about among all pass catchers in the game tonight because Debo Samuel is arguably the best yards after the catch receiver in the league. He's probably top 5 after the catch. I think he's top 3 in the league right now in yards after the catch per game. So he could easily get some short passes that become big passes. But I still think the weather is something to consider in the start-sit decisions for him this week. Hey, Sam, Jacoby Myers or Sterling Shepard? Yeah, Braden, I'm not sure Sterling Shepard's even going to play. If he plays, I do like him more than Jacoby Myers. But you got to monitor the news up until kickoff. What time is that game today? The Raiders game's not till 4, which is not good news if you have Darren Waller. So we might not know by the end of the stream if Darren Waller is or isn't going to play. Darren Waller, if I had to guess right now, based on everything I've read this morning, I would guess that Darren Waller does not play. And because there's a greater than 50% chance right now that Darren Waller's not going to play, he's got to be out of your lineup. unless you have a backup option that's also playing later than 4 o'clock. I'd go check for OJ Howard, who plays at 4:25. He starts 20 minutes after Darren Waller today. So go at OJ Howard. Gronk is out. Antonio Brown is out. OJ Howard is also questionable, but I believe he's going to play today. As for the Giants, they play at 1 o'clock, so we should know about Sterling Shepard before the kickoff of the first games. Always start Patterson. Yeah, you got to start Cordero Patterson and Mike Davis this week. You have to start both of them. Like, yes, you're starting him over Devontae Booker. You're starting him over Chase Edmonds. You have to start Mike Davis this week against the Dolphins. The Dolphins, again, they have not stopped anyone. Guys, they haven't stopped anyone. Their run defense is really, really bad. It's a bottom 5 run defense in the NFL. I was saying earlier in the stream, I think you could make a legitimate case right now that the Dolphins are worse than the Jets. I think that the Jets versus the Dolphins game, the Jets could definitely win that game because the Jets defense is much better than the Dolphins defense. The Dolphins defense is really bad. They clearly overperformed last season. And so you have to like Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson and Calvin Ridley this week against the Dolphins. Lockett or Jalen Waddle. Lockett and DK Metcalf are really tough for me right now because I don't want my players tethered to Geno Smith. Like, it's not something you want for Tyler Lockett. So I think Waddle is you can start Waddle over Lockett. I would guess that if you went and downloaded the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store, which gives you the best projections that you could possibly find in fantasy football because it uses machine learning and also gives you boom and bust probabilities for every player. My guess would be Tyler Lockett's projected to score more than Jalen Waddle, but I do not feel very good about Tyler Lockett. And I think Jalen Waddle, to me, has a safer floor against the Falcons. But it's Tyler Lockett we're talking about, so he still has a higher ceiling. Should I start Devontae Smith or AJ Green? Yeah, got to be Devontae Smith. AJ Green is a 16-point favorite, 18-point favorite against the Texans. I'm mixing up the spreads here. Let me see. Yeah, he's an 18-point favorite. The Cardinals are 18. Let me pull up my picks against the spread on the YouTube Live again. Again, if you come to the YouTube Live, you can see my picks against the spread, my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, all in the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm very excited about that. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Really does help us out a ton. But yeah, the Cardinals are 18-point favorites. That's not a good thing for AJ Green. It's not a good thing for AJ Green. This is the perfect week for AJ Green to just chill on the sidelines. Mooney or Hardman? I would go Hardman. I want pieces. I want pieces of this Chiefs and Titans game. This game is going to score so many points. It's 2 top 10 offenses versus 2 bottom 10 defenses. I mean, this game has by far the highest over-under of the week. And if the Titans can keep this game close against the Chiefs, and it's only a 4.5-point spread, I like the Chiefs actually in this game. But A.J. Brown and Julio Jones look like they're playing today. I like Ryan Tannehill a lot today. I think he's a top 6 quarterback option. I'm starting him on DraftKings this week in my head-to-head contest, high-stakes DraftKings league that I'm in. I'm coming off back-to-back losses. We cannot go 3 straight losses. Cannot string together 3 straight losses. And I'm going back to the well with Ryan Tannehill. He let us down in week 1. The offensive line for the Titans is still really terrifying, but the Chiefs defense is not scary at all. How do you like Aaron Jones this week? You got to love Aaron Jones. You also got to love Quadzilla, A.J. Dillon, as a pretty big favorite against Washington. A.J. Dillon, my new favorite NFL player, by the way. Shout out to A.J. Dillon. And I don't know if you saw that story, but go check out Packers.WalterPicks, and you can see what A.J. Dillon did with the WalterPicks brand. But A.J. Dillon's the man. And I like Aaron Jones a lot today, too. I think that Washington is going to get destroyed by the Packers. I think they're 9-point favorites or something, or 7-point favorites. I'm still going with the Packers. Dillon over Damian Williams. Yeah, honestly, I would go A.J. Dillon over Damian Williams. Both have game scripts that should bode well for them. But I think Damian Williams is much less of a clear role than A.J. Dillon, who's been seeing a pretty consistent role in the rushing attack for the Packers. And he even had that receiving touchdown a couple weeks ago, too. Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Devontae Smith. Wow, 3 rookies, man. And the rookie receivers are really starting to get me excited. We've had a really exciting start to the season for the rookie wide receivers, mainly with Jamar Chase, who has an actual chance, a very real chance, to break Justin Jefferson's record 1 year after it was set. But these other receivers are also really good. Rondale Moore, I think, is a complete wild card. He's the definition of boom-bust option this week. Honestly, I think all 3 of these guys are boom-bust options this week. I would argue that Devontae Smith has the highest boom, though, and that Rondale Moore probably is the biggest bust. All 3 of these guys have upside this week. I would probably rank these 3 rookies, Rashad Bateman, Rondale Moore, Devontae Smith. I would probably rank these guys Devontae Smith number 1, Rashad Bateman number 2, Rondale Moore number 3 this week. But I think all 3 of them could easily end up having a good week or a bad week. I'd say they're all boom bust options, Bennett. But that's how I would rank them. I think Devontae Smith, his air yards are just so much higher than the other 2, at least so far. It's going to be interesting to see how Rashad Bateman's role progresses because, again, Lamar Jackson has been more aggressive throwing the ball downfield. But, yeah, that's how I would rank them. All right, let's get back to some of the TikTok questions, the YouTube questions. Again, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. On the YouTube Live, you can see my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, picks against the spread, and so much more that I can't show you on the TikTok Live. So come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the bio. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're in the YouTube Live. We're going to hit 5,000 YouTube subscribers today, guys. Super exciting. Super exciting. The first 5,000 of you, the true OGs of the WalterPicks YouTube channel. I appreciate you so much. Seriously. Thanks for taking some time out of your Sunday morning to tune in. There is a Bypocalypse this week. We have the Chargers are on bye. We have let me pull this up really quickly. We have Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Chargers, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers. So many buys this week. We have like half of the top 10 running backs on bye this week. Sam, hope the school year is going well. Thanks, Anthony. I need some help. Pick 2 of each. Ridley, Woods, and Pittman. Ridley, Woods, and Pittman. Yeah, I mean, you're not allowed to bench Calvin Ridley. You definitely cannot bench Calvin Ridley. I would probably go Robert Woods over Pittman too. Again, big weather implications in the Sunday night game tonight. So don't start Michael Pittman. I think honestly Michael Pittman's like a must bench in this weather. Khalil Herbert, Mitchell, or Chuba Hubbard. Yeah, this one's easy too, Anthony. It's Chuba Hubbard. It's honestly not close. Chuba Hubbard's a top 6 running back option. Yeah, let me pull up my top 10 QBs. Mix this up a little bit. I'll pull up my running backs next too. The running backs that you cannot bench this week. You're not allowed to bench Chuba Hubbard, who's seen, I think, 20-plus touches in back-to-back weeks. Let me pull this up really quickly. I think he's seen back-to-back games with 20 touches. That makes him a running back 1 in fantasy football. Let me pull this up. A few other running backs that you definitely can't bench this week. DeAndre Swift, you can't bench him. You cannot bench Josh Jacobs. I don't think you can bench Joe Mixon either. Sorry about that TikTok Live. We are back. Quick lag there. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube, though. You got to come to the YouTube Live, guys. We got a lot more information on the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You're like 3 presses of your finger away from my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends on the YouTube Live. And when we get to 200 likes on the YouTube Live, guys, smash the like button if you're in the YouTube Live right now. Because when we get to 200 likes in the YouTube Live, we got a free prop pick that I'm feeling great about, and I want to talk about a lot. Mike Davis or Cordero Patterson, man. I was hoping someone would ask this question. You have to go Cordero Patterson. It's Mike Davis week. Guys, this is Mike Davis week. You have to start Mike Davis in most situations, especially in Bypocalypse week. But Cordero Patterson, I mean, just look at the fantasy number comparison. He just has way more receiving upside, way more touchdown upside than Mike Davis. So you have to start him over Mike Davis. But don't get me wrong. This is Mike Davis week. Mike Davis should be started in most situations. The Dolphins have not been good this season. They have not been good. Mike Davis has rushed for at least 50 yards in 3 of his 5 games. But the Falcons have been destroyed in most games, and they are favorites against the Dolphins. The Falcons are not going to be favorites very often this season. And, I mean, the Dolphins' defense has just been torched by running backs this season. They've allowed at least 65 yards on the ground to at least one running back every single game. Every single game. So I think Mike Davis finishes with over 65 rushing yards and a touchdown today. So, yeah, I like Mike Davis. McLaurin or Keenan? I don't think Keenan Allen's playing. I think the Chargers are on bye. So that one's easy. Ertz or Hunter Henry? Yeah, I don't think you can start Zach Ertz yet. I would go Hunter Henry. We got to wait to see how long it takes for Zach Ertz to actually see meaningful playing time. What QBs this week? Yeah, let me pull up my top 10 quarterbacks again. I think Ryan Tannehill is probably my favorite kind of sleeper this week. Technically, I would call him a sleeper. I think he's available still in like half of fantasy leagues. So I like Ryan Tannehill a lot this week. Guys, we are live on TikTok. We're live on YouTube. Smash the like button and the subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube. And guys, if you have not checked out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, you got to go try it out. I've spent over 10,000 hours of my life building this app for you all that leverages machine learning to give you the best fantasy football, start sit advice, trade analyzer advice, DraftKings, FanDuel advice, player prop advice. It's all for free to download and try out in the WalterPicks app. And the number one way you could possibly support me is a premium subscription in the WalterPicks app. Good morning, Nicholas. Boyd, Bateman, who's the other guy in this question? Hardman. I think Boyd is probably the worst option out of this list. I like all three of them this week. I actually think all three, Nick, are going to outproduce expectation this week. But I think Hardman has the highest ceiling. Google Play Store. Yes, Android people, we're coming. We're going to be in the Android store, I'd say, in the next month. We have an actual timeline now, which is exciting. How confident are we in Antonio Gibson, and who would you start over him? Yeah, Caleb, I think on panic scale of 1 to 10, panic scale, I'd probably say 10 being like you got to go trade Antonio Gibson ASAP. I'd probably say we're at like a 6. Antonio Gibson should be started this week, though. Apparently, he's actually feeling pretty good right now. Actually, the injury news is trending in a good direction for Antonio Gibson. So I think you got to start him this week, even in a tough matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Superfan champion member since April. Dan, that's what I'm talking about, man. I do appreciate you. AJ Dillon or Freeman or any other suggestions? Oh, man, this one's tough because I do think Devontae Freeman has probably a better chance at more touches than AJ Dillon. No Latavius Murray, I believe, this week, which is a big deal for Devontae Freeman. But I think the Packers are going to destroy Washington. Washington has allowed 4 consecutive top 10 fantasy football performances to quarterbacks. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a big day, which could mean a lead for the Packers and a good day for AJ Dillon. But I also think Devontae Freeman's probably going to get more touches than AJ Dillon. So I think I would probably go with Devontae Freeman. And no, I don't think you're going to find a better option on the waiver wire. AJ Brown or Cooks? Oh God, you got to go AJ Brown. You can't bench AJ Brown. You just can't bench AJ Brown against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the perfect matchup for AJ Brown. So you got to go AJ Brown over Brandon Cooks. What do we think about Allen Robinson? Allen Robinson, this is a game where he has upside. We obviously know the floor is low for Allen Robinson, but the ceiling is there against the Buccaneers. And the Bears, I think, are 11-point underdogs in that game. It's going to rain in the Chiefs game, which worries me about Hardman. Yeah, I don't get worried about rain. I really don't. The only thing I get worried about with weather is wind. Wind over 25 miles an hour. Otherwise, it has to be like insane downpour for me to care about the rain. I do think super severe weather, you have to pay attention to. Like really, really big snow games and rain games, yeah, that can have an impact. But the only big, clear impact when you look at the historical data is wind. And we have wind tonight over 30 miles an hour in the 49ers and Colts game. So I'm nervous about that game. But I'm not nervous about any of the other games. There's going to be some light rain, potentially in the Seahawks game, potentially in the Chiefs game. But I'm not that worried about it. How do you feel about Jalen Waddle this week? He is in a good matchup. I mean, you got to feel pretty good about Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's coming off one of his best games of the season. And he gets the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons secondary has just been awful for so many years now. And this year is really no different for them. And yeah, you look at last week for Jalen Waddle. He played 94% of the Dolphins snaps. He saw 13 targets. 13 targets. That is a guy you want to be starting in fantasy football. And he had a career high, 94% snap rate. He didn't play over 90% of the snaps a single week before this week, last week against the Jaguars. 13 targets. He scored 29 fantasy points. He scored twice, 2 touchdowns. You got to be trotting out Jalen Waddle again with confidence. Julio or Lockett? Yeah, I'd go Julio over Lockett. Pitts or Gesicki? Definitely Kyle Pitts. Definitely Kyle Pitts. Though I don't think the Atlanta Falcons this week are going to have the pleasure of going up against the Jets, who just decided not to defend Kyle Pitts like he's a good receiver. Cooks or Patterson? I'd probably go Patterson. I don't think you can bench Cordero Patterson. Love the app. Gave it a 5-star review. Thank you so much. Guys, we're trying to hit 5,000 5-star reviews in the iOS App Store for the WalterPicks app. So if I say anything that's helpful for you today, and you're not going to go do a premium subscription in the WalterPicks app, which is fine, I understand, the number one way you could help me after that is just tossing us a 5-star review in the iOS App Store. I really do appreciate that. All right, let's get to this question in the chat. We're a little over 1 hour into this live stream. We got like 2 hours left. Plenty of time to get to the questions and to get ready for fantasy football during week 7, the Bypocalypse. All right, let's look at this question. AJ Brown, Antonio Gibson. Yeah, you got to go AJ Brown over Antonio Gibson. Love the app, by the way. Thanks, man. I do appreciate that. I would go AJ Brown this week. I know he's dealing with some stomach issues, and I said this early in the stream. We got to get AJ Brown like a personal chef or something. No more fast food for A.J. Brown. Just for the next few years, A.J. You're a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. We got to figure out these stomach problems because you are going to destroy. If you are 100% healthy, A.J. Brown is going to destroy the Chiefs secondary. I mean, the Chiefs secondary has not been at all impressive this season. Yo, bro, should I start Gibson or McKissick? Oh, man. I was hoping we would see this question. I actually do like McKissick more than Antonio Gibson this week. And the game is just projected to go towards McKissick. They're big underdogs against the Packers. And that's a good thing for J.D. McKissick. So, yeah, I think I would go J.D. McKissick. The app has helped me a lot this season. Wow, thanks, man. That's good. Stafford or Matt Ryan? Yeah, it's got to be Stafford. I mean, Stafford, hashtag revenge game for Matthew Stafford today against the Detroit Lions. And pretty good spot for Matthew Stafford to be in right now. The Rams have looked very, very good offensively. They have been a little bit worse on defense than a lot of us expected. But Stafford is a 16-point favorite going back to against the Detroit Lions. You got to go Stafford. And this also, because this is a revenge game, I feel like we could see Stafford just keep his foot on the gas much longer. Darnell, thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. I definitely do like, I'm seeing some Dallas Goedert questions. You got to like Goedert. Make the app free, bozo. The app is free. The app is completely free to download. And there's actually a lot of features in the app that are completely free. But we have an entire team of engineers, an entire team of content creators that are only paid through the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app. So no, we can't make it free. When you are good at something, you do not do it for free. When you're great at something, you just don't do it for free. There's been too much time and energy to make the WalterPicks app completely free. I'm sorry. But we do have a lot of free pieces of advice in the app. And of course, you can also just hop in the YouTube live and the TikTok live to get some free insights. So I mean, we're doing plenty for free. Is Derrick Henry good for today? Yeah, he is. His over-under, Derrick Henry's over-under today, guys, is 116.5 rushing yards, which is just absolutely insane. And I want to take the under. Like, you can't go over 116 if you're gonna take the prop for Derrick Henry. You can't be going over 116 in the game because the Chiefs. Like, what happens when the Chiefs get a lead? This is how crazy Derrick Henry is. Derrick Henry, top 5 running back in the history of the NFL, and he is on pace. And if he just stays healthy, he's going to do this. Be the first running back since I forget who it was. I made a video about this the other day, but since the 1960s or 70s to have 3 straight seasons over 100 rushing yards per game for Derrick Henry. And his over-under every week is above 110. It's 116.5 this week. So, yeah, he's my number 2 ranked running back this week. The only running back he's behind for me this week is Alvin Kamara, who I think is in a pretty good spot against a really bad Seahawks defense. Play Mike Davis. Yeah, you got to play Mike Davis. You have to play. This is Mike Davis week. It is Mike Davis week. Start Mike Davis this week, guys. Start Mike Davis or Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I would go with Mike Davis. Again, I think the 49ers game is going to be low-scoring, really bad weather game. Someone just offered me Gibson and Lockett for Hilton. I mean, what? Why do they want Hilton? That doesn't make any sense. You have to accept that trade. Damian Williams or Myers or Bateman. Yeah, I would probably go with Myers or Bateman here. I think the game does project well for Damian Williams. The Bears are 11-point underdogs against the Bucs, and they're just going to need to throw the ball to keep up with the Buccaneers. But the Bears also hate throwing the ball. I mean, the Bears have not given Justin Fields a chance to throw the ball really at all because they're so terrified of this offensive line. I really think that is what it comes down to for the Chicago Bears, just not having the pieces to actually build a good offense around Justin Fields. He hasn't thrown the ball 30 times in the game yet this season. And he's an 11-point underdog today, and I still don't feel very confident he's going to throw the ball 30 or more times because they just do not want Justin Fields to be throwing the ball a lot. He threw the ball 27 times in a big loss against the Packers. They were down for the majority of that game. He still only threw the ball 27 times. So all that being said, I think Damian Williams has a lot of risk this week. I think the ceiling is there, but the ceiling is there for Jacoby Myers and Rashad Bateman too. So I would be fine benching Damian Williams, even though it is the Bypocalypse. Though I would probably start him over Alex Collins, who's questionable, trending towards playing, but I don't want Alex Collins against the Saints. Hey, Sam, T. Higgins or Julio Jones? It's got to be Julio this week against the Falcons. I mean, against the Chiefs, excuse me. The Chiefs-Titans game, you just want pieces of that game. There's going to be players in this game with the Chiefs and the Titans that win fantasy football matchups this week. You don't know who's going to be, but at least one of Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Derrick Henry, even McCole Hardman, you could add to that list. Like, there's going to be players in this game that just put up more than 30 fantasy points. Waddle or Shepard? Yeah, just go with Waddle. Waddle saw 13 targets last week. He had 29 fantasy points or 27 fantasy points or something. And now he gets the Falcons. So you gotta like Waddle. Ruggs or Julio? Yeah, I'd go Julio over Ruggs. Who wins, Falcons or Dolphins? Yeah, if you come to the YouTube Live, I'll pull up my picks against the spread again on the YouTube Live. Guys, we are 70% on our locks against the spread on the YouTube Live streams. Oh, it still says week 6. My bad. I let me change this. Week 7 picks against the spread on the YouTube Live. I do think my favorite play of the week. There's 2 locks this week. One is the Carolina Panthers, 3-point favorites against the New York Giants. The Panthers are just a better team than the Giants. And this is only – the Panthers are favorites in New York against the Giants. The Giants are without Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard's questionable, Darius Slayton playing through an injury, Evan Ingram questionable, looking towards a true game time decision. And the Giants defense also really hasn't been that good. I think Chuba Hubbard has a big day against the Giants, and the Panthers beat them by more than 3. The other game that I really like this week is the Monday night game, which is the Saints against the Seahawks. I mean, the Saints are just a much better team than the Seattle Seahawks right now. The Seahawks defense is a bottom 5 defense in the NFL, and they're starting Geno Smith at quarterback. Yeah, I don't know how you could possibly feel good about the Seahawks right now. So I'm going with the Saints -4.5 and the Panthers -3. But back to the original question, do I think the Falcons or Dolphins win today? I think the Falcons win. That's why I think it's a Mike Davis week. This is one of the only games all season the Falcons are going to be favored, but rightfully so. The Dolphins just lost to the Jaguars. The Jaguars realistically might not win another game the entire season. And I would argue that the Jets could lose. The Jets could beat the Dolphins too when they play. I mean, the Dolphins defense is just really bad. And the offense is nothing impressive either. Bateman or Boyd? Yeah, you got to go Bateman over Boyd. I like both. I do like both. I like Bateman more, though, than Boyd. Boyd has had a couple really bad weeks, and I think that what Bateman did last week is his floor. He played, I think, 60% of the snaps. He saw, I think, 4 or 5 targets. I think it was 6 targets, actually, for Rashad Bateman. What's your locks? Yeah, so my favorite locks of the day you can find on the YouTube Live. They're showing on the YouTube Live right now. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the TikTok bio for all of my favorite locks of the day. Darrell Williams or Mike Davis? It's Mike Davis. You got to go Mike Davis over Darrell Williams. I like Darrell Williams this week against the Titans, but I really think the Chiefs-Titans game is going to be a lot of passing. It's going to be a big, very pass-heavy day. It's supposed to rain in that game. That doesn't scare me at all in terms of the passing. Sam for president. Bateman or Hardman? Yeah, both these guys. I actually think I like Hardman more. I would argue that Bateman's actually safer. I mean, Bateman played more than I expected last week in his first game back. Bateman is better than McCole Hardman long-term, and I think Bateman has the safer floor. But in this game against the Titans, McCole Hardman has the higher ceiling. Dropped a 5-star review. Thanks, man. Start 1 at flex. Antonio Gibson, T. Higgins, Chase Edmonds. Oh, God. This is going to be a tough one for Antonio Gibson this week, but you got to go Antonio Gibson over T. Higgins and over Chase Edmonds. Antonio Gibson, the latest news on Antonio Gibson too has been very positive. The injury stuff is trending in a good direction. So I think I'd go Antonio Gibson, even in a tough matchup against the Green Bay Packers. All right, guys, let me make sure we are refreshed on all the news here, and then we will get back to it. It is the Bypocalypse week. We have so many teams on bye, and there's going to be a lot of tough fantasy football decisions. Buffalo Bills, Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, Los Angeles Chargers, Minnesota Vikings, Pittsburgh Steelers, all out this week. Is Cordell Patterson a must start? Yeah, he is. He is. Mike Davis or Hunter Renfrow? It's Mike Davis. Guys, it's Mike Davis week. It is Mike Davis week. You got to start Mike Davis. Let me put the hat back on. I'm starting to get cold again. It's Mike Davis week, man. We are just a couple hours. We still have more than 2 hours left in the live, guys. We are just getting started. And you can tell I'm starting to get more and more excited. I wanted to pull up the news, make sure there's no news that we missed out on since the first hour and a half of the stream. Coach Cliff Kingsbury will coach this week against the Texans. Not like the Cardinals really needed Kingsbury. They did fine without him last week, and they're playing the Texans. They were 18-point favorites. The Cardinals were 18-point favorites against the Texans, and they still didn't even know if their head coach was going to be there. That's how much better they are than the Texans. That's just insane. Just insane. All right, let's take a quick look at the rest of the news here. Dak Prescott won't practice Monday, but remains optimistic he'll play week 8. They are on bye this week. It looks like Devontae Parker has an uphill battle to play, which is not good. Evan Ingram's expected to play. Julio Jones expected to play. Antonio Gibson expected to play. Darren Waller doesn't feel great. And we'll know if he's able to play until pregame warmups, and this is a 4 o'clock game for the Raiders. It's later in the day. So you got to have a backup plan if you have Darren Waller this week. I think a good backup plan is O.J. Howard, who plays later than Darren Waller this week. And he's available, I think, in over 60% of leagues still. Hey, Sam, Waddle or Renfro? Yes, Waddle. It's got to be Waddle. Devontae Parker, uphill battle to play. That's music to your ears if you have Waddle. Just dropped a 5-star review. Thanks, man. Start Waddle, Shepard, Lockett, and Hollywood. Yeah, I'd go Waddle, Hollywood. Waddle and Hollywood are both benefiting from injuries this week, and they already were pretty good options. I would go Waddle and Hollywood Brown in this one. All right, let me get back to this question here that I saw a little farther up. I will try to get to as many questions as I can, I promise. I do answer a lot of questions throughout the entire live. If you've been here for a while, I appreciate it. I think time is super valuable. So thank you for tuning in this morning, even if it was just for a couple minutes or for a couple hours. All right, let's quickly get to this one. Can't wait for the Android version. Justin, that's what I'm talking about, man. It's coming. Would you do Antonio Gibson or Robert Woods PPR Flex? Oh, man. I think in a PPR league, I'm fine with going Robert Woods. Renfro or Crowder? That one is a good one. Renfro or Crowder? I do like Jamison Lee Crowder today against the Patriots. They don't have their slot corner. And the Jets are 7-point underdogs. I think I would go Crowder. I think Renfro is safer, but Crowder has a higher ceiling. Devontae Smith or Mike Davis? Yeah, I mean, guys, there's no safer bet this week than Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a lock for at least minimum 50 rushing yards. Mike Davis is against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have allowed at least one running back to go over 65 rushing yards in every single game so far this season. And I know that could end up being Cordarrelle Patterson this week. I wouldn't be shocked if it was both Mike Davis and Cordarrelle Patterson. The Falcons are favored against the Dolphins. The Dolphins just lost to the Jaguars. The Falcons aren't going to be favored much this season. You got to like Mike Davis this week. It is Mike Davis week. All that being said, I don't know if I would have started him in that situation. I think that one was pretty close. I think Mike Davis had the safer floor, but the lower ceiling, though. The ceiling isn't that high for Mike Davis. AJ Green or Julio Jones? Man, the battle of future Hall of Fame receivers. You got to go Julio Jones, though. This is such a stay away week for AJ Green, which I feel like AJ Green is, every single week super unpredictable. But they're 18-point favorites against the Texans. Like, this is the perfect week for AJ Green to just chill on the sidelines and just heal up for next week. Devontae Smith or DK Metcalf? Oh, man. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are so hard to trust right now with Geno Smith. But you can trust DK Metcalf more than Lockett. I still think I would go DK Metcalf here. I want to start Devontae Smith. I like Devontae Smith. But you got to acknowledge the risk that comes with Devontae Smith. We've seen some really low performances from Devontae Smith. I would probably go DK Metcalf. Sam, I traded Hunt for Gesicki, Waddle, and Davis. Did I win? Yeah, that's a huge dub. Kareem Hunt's out for a while. Kareem Hunt is going to be out for at least the next month, it looks like. And stuff like this can linger, too. So, yeah, I mean, that's a clear dub. Heineke or Mac Jones? Oh, God. Probably Mac Jones against the Jets. I don't know. It's close. Heineke's against the Packers. Jair Alexander, I think, is out again. But I would still probably go Mac Jones. Heineke didn't do good against the Chiefs. The Chiefs' defense is not good. So he's got a tougher matchup this week than he had last week. Devontae or Allen Robinson? Allen Robinson has a good ceiling this week, guys. You have to acknowledge the ceiling for Allen Robinson. They're 11-point underdogs against the Bucs. The Bucs have allowed the most fantasy points per game to wide receivers this entire season. But the Bears hate throwing the ball. They throw the ball the least per game in the entire league. The Bears have not had a game with Justin Fields where they threw the ball more than 27 times. For a lot of teams, 27 passing attempts would be their lowest passing attempt of the whole season. That's the highest for the Bears. So there's also an extremely low floor for Allen Robinson, but the ceiling is there. Can I keep Gallup on IR? Yeah, Drew, I think you can. I think you can. Mooney or Bateman? I would go Bateman over Mooney. I think at least one of Mooney, Allen Robinson will have a big day. I like Bateman a lot too, though. With Watkins out, I do think he has a much higher ceiling. Callaway or Mooney. I also have Allen Robinson. Yeah, I don't feel good about starting Darnell Mooney over Allen Robinson, but this is where we are, guys. This is where we are. Darnell Mooney's seeing more air yards than Allen Robinson. So I'm fine going with Darnell Mooney. Devontae Smith, by the way, he only had 4 targets last week and 72 air yards against the Bucs. That was a pretty disappointing game. I think that was on Thursday night too. But still, Devontae Smith, even after that bad game, he's top 15 in the NFL in air yards per game. He's seeing over 100 air yards per game. He has really not come off the field for the Eagles. He played 96% of the snaps, 98% of the snaps last week. He's played over 90% of the snaps basically every game this season. Devontae Smith is a guy that I want to start. He's a guy that I do want to start. Sanders or Chuba Hubbard. Guys, you cannot bench Chuba Hubbard this week. You cannot bench Chuba Hubbard this week. I should see 0 questions about Chuba Hubbard. He's a favorite against the Giants. The Giants have not been good against the run. And Chuba Hubbard has seen 20. He's averaging 20 carries and 80 yards per game over his last 2 games. That's Chuba Hubbard. 20 carries per game over his last 2 games. And I think the Panthers are going to beat the 3-point spread against the Giants today. And if they do, then it's going to be another 20 carries for Chuba Hubbard, which makes him a solid running back 1. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. Come to the YouTube live. You can see my top 10 running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, picks against the spread, and so much more on the YouTube live. And when we get to 200 likes on the YouTube live, I got a free prop pick for you all as well. Link is in the TikTok bio. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Smash the like button and the subscribe button if you are watching live on YouTube. Let me pull up my top 10 fantasy football wide receivers for the week because I'm seeing a lot of receiver questions. Hardman is really scary to me as a start, but I will take the risk for you, Sam. Hope you enjoy your football Sunday. Thanks, Dick. Yeah, I am. If you've been listening to me for a long time, you know that I like to take calculated risks. I like to take risks that have a lot of upside. It's why I invested basically every single dollar in my bank account to start my own business. It's also why I will be starting Mecole Hardman in multiple fantasy leagues and in my head-to-head DraftKings lineup this week. You're supposed to be risk-averse in head-to-head contests, but if you take the right shots, it can also win you your matchup. And Mecole Hardman against the Tennessee Titans today is that risk that I'm willing to take. But, of course, there's going to be a downside to that risk. Cordero or Godwin. You have to start Chris Godwin. You have to start Mike Evans. There's no Antonio Brown. There's no Rob Gronkowski again this week. You have to go Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. You just can't bench either of those guys. But guys, hit the like and follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. They added a like button on TikTok, guys. Smash the like button. And they also added a subscribe button on YouTube. I think it's been there a while. Maybe they didn't add it. I don't know where I'm going here. But guys, hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching live on YouTube too. We're almost at 200 likes. We're almost at 200 likes. When we get there, we got a free prop pick, and we are just a few hours away from football. And there's some pressing questions. Some guys that I think. Let me get back to this TikTok question. This was a good one. What is your prediction? What are your bold predictions? Yeah, let me go through some bold predictions today really quickly. I do think Jalen Waddle is a must start this week with Devontae Parker looking out. Let me go through some of my bolder predictions of the week. I think that the Jets have a realistic chance to beat the Patriots. The Patriots have been in only close games this season. They haven't won a single game that was not close. And they also have lost a lot of close games. I think the New England Patriots could lose to every single team in the NFL, and they could also beat most teams in the NFL on any given day. They're 2-4. They've lost a lot of close games. They were in basically every game. The Saints game was not close, but it should have been. But yeah, the Jets could beat the Patriots. The Jets defense could stop the Patriots offense. There's one bold prediction. I also think at least one of these big spread games, probably the Lions game, if I had to pick one. The Lions are 16.5-point underdogs against the Rams. The Texans are 18-point underdogs against the Cardinals. At least one of those games is going to end up being close. And I would guess it would be the Lions, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, both revenge games against former teams. The Lions defense has been a little bit better than people expected this season. I could see that being a closer game than people expect. Lions versus the Rams. I mean, that would be pretty crazy to see Matthew Stafford lose to the Lions. Hardman or Booker? I would go with Mecole Hardman over Devontae Booker. But those were some of my bold predictions of the week. I also think the Falcons are going to beat the Dolphins. I think the Chiefs beat the Titans, but that game is also going to be really high score. The last bold prediction I'll give you, I think that the Bears also have a chance to upset the Buccaneers. Answer my question, and you'll get a like. Thanks, man. Who do you like at flex for the rest of the season? Robert Woods, Devontae Smith, or Cortland Sutton? Well, Jerry Jeudy's on the verge of return, which is very exciting because I had Jerry Jeudy on a lot of fantasy teams this season. And I think that kind of eliminates Cortland Sutton from this question. Honestly, probably Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith has the most air yards, or I would project for the most air yards. I think Cortland Sutton actually has him beat. But once Jerry Jeudy returns, I would probably go Devontae Smith. I like Devontae Smith as a buy right now in fantasy. He's 15th most air yards in the NFL, 7th most unrealized air yards, which means he's not capitalized on the 7th most air yards in the league. And that points to regression, positive regression for Devontae Smith. Ramondre Stevenson or Devontae Freeman. Ramondre Stevenson, Marcus. It is the Bypocalypse week when we are getting questions about Ramondre Stevenson. And I'm glad I see a Ramondre Stevenson question because I have been in on Ramondre Stevenson for the last 3 weeks. You look at the Patriots backfield. James White is injured. Damien Harris has had serious fumble problems, but is still the clear first down back because there's just no one else there with Sony Michel gone. Sony Michel, by the way, would have been involved in this offense at this point in the season if he wasn't traded. Though he's also dealing with injuries now, too, for the Rams. And then you have Brandon Bolden mixing in. Brandon Bolden, this is such a tough thing for Patriots fans because Brandon Bolden, on the good Patriots teams that won Super Bowls, Brandon Bolden was literally a special teamer on those teams. And now it's 2021, and Brandon Bolden is like out there getting important third down touches for this Patriots team. It just tells you how much this team has changed. But yeah, I like Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson has looked good. I think he's going to take the James White role this season as soon as this week. And I think he could even threaten Damien Harris for some of those early down carries too. Ramondre Stevenson has looked like the most talented running back for the Patriots over the last 2 weeks, and I only expect his role to increase. All that being said, I think you still go Devontae Freeman over him this week because, Marcus, he's probably going to touch the ball more. But I do like Ramondre Stevenson. I think he is a sneaky ad right now in fantasy football. Hey, Sam, how do you feel about Miles Sanders this week? PPR. Yeah, I'm feeling good about him. He played 90% of the snaps last week for the Eagles. I expect the Eagles to be in a close game against the Raiders. The Raiders are favored in this game by, I think, 3 points. I like the Eagles to win, though. And I think the Eagles are definitely capable of beating the Raiders. So, yeah, I like Miles Sanders. The Raiders' rushing defense also hasn't been anything amazing this season. They've been, I think, middle of the pack. Jimmy G or Wentz? Neither. You don't want to start either of these guys. And, again, I think one of the small edges to gain in fantasy football is understanding how injuries impact other players, but also how the weather is going to impact specific games. And a lot of people overreact to weather in fantasy football. I think there's a lot of overreaction to weather. The only thing that I'm scared about when it comes to weather in the NFL, and I've done analysis on this, there's a statistically significant impact on NFL offenses when there's wind over 25 miles an hour. And we have wind above 30 miles an hour in the 49ers versus Colts game. Very bad news for Jimmy G. Very bad news for Carson Wentz. Very bad news for Michael Pittman. Very bad news for Deebo Samuel. All the pass catchers in this game, this is not what you want to hear. This could be a very run-heavy game. But when the defense knows you're going to run the ball, it's also hard to run the ball in these games. So, yeah, I don't want anything to do with the passing attacks. I think Deebo Samuel is the one guy in this game that you can still start because he's so good after the catch and basically could function as like a second running back for the 49ers tonight. But other than that, I think you bench Carson Wentz and Jimmy G, and you find a better option. Honestly, I would even go Daniel Jones over both of them this week. Hey, Sam, Elijah Mitchell or Devontae Booker? Yeah, I'd go Mitchell over Booker. Darrell Williams or Josh Jacobs? Josh Jacobs, man. It's got to be Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs has started to trend in a really good direction. He has, let me pull this up really quickly. Josh Jacobs, he's seen at least 15 carries, at least 65 yards in back-to-back games, and he gets a great matchup against the Eagles. The Eagles have allowed the 5th most rushing yards per game to running backs this season. The Eagles' rushing defense has not been good. And Josh Jacobs, again, at least 15 carries, at least 65 yards in back-to-back games. Josh Jacobs is a really good start this week. He's a top 10 running back for me. Let me pull up my top 10 running backs on the YouTube Live. Guys, if you come to the YouTube Live, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. But on YouTube, you can see my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and a lot more that you can't see on the TikTok Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. And if you are watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the like button and the subscribe button. We're so close to 5,000 YouTube subscribers. I'm very excited for that. Let me pull up my top 10 running backs. And on this top 10 running back list, you'll see at number 10, Josh Jacobs right there because he's a lock for 15 carries, 65 yards in this game. And he could easily go over 100 yards and a touchdown in this game. That is the ceiling for Josh Jacobs this week. So he's a solid running back one. I think he's a must start. Gibson or Bell? Yeah, you can't start Le'Veon Bell. We confirmed Le'Veon Bell was washed last season when Darrell Williams was outproducing him for the Kansas City Chiefs. Lev Bell is still washed. Though if he did get volume in this offense, guys, can just reincarnate players. Like the Ravens rushing attack is just so dynamic with Lamar Jackson that you could literally input any running back in the league into this offense and they could rush for 100 yards. Love the app. Pittman or Swift? Definitely Swift. Again, Michael Pittman's playing in a game with wind over 30 miles an hour and like torrential downpour tonight in this game. Not a good game for Michael Pittman. It is a good game, though, for DeAndre Swift, who's a 16-point underdog against the Rams, and he's leading the league at the running back position in receiving yards. Hey, Sam, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in, Nuke. Let's check out what this question is. Start Tua or Darnold as QB. This one's close. I would probably go Tua over Darnold because Tua's against the Falcons. But Darnold, I do think that Darnold and the Panthers are going to win this game against the Giants. But I think it could be a really run-heavy day for the Panthers. I would go Tua over Darnold. Flex A.J. Brown, Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, it's got to be A.J. Brown. It's got to be A.J. Brown. You got to start A.J. Brown and Julio this week. You have to start them. If you have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on your team, your season's probably not going fantastic, or at least they have not helped you out that much. Where can I get that hat? Ryan, go to WalterPicks.com. There's a lot of gear there. There's a store there. This actually, we really didn't mark anything up either. Like we didn't build this store to really make money. It's really just like we are making $0 on any purchase. And it's just for gear. If you want gear, WalterPicks gear. You can get all the hats that all the creators wear. It's like $20 or $25 or something. WalterPicks.com. And then just click on the store tab. Scroll down. Hey, Sam, really torn between AJ Green at Flex or Crowder. Thanks. Love the app. Yeah, Bryce, don't go AJ Green, man. This is a scary week for AJ Green. And a less scary week for Jameson Crowder. Jameson Lee Crowder, I think this is actually a pretty good tiebreaker. Just look at the two game situations before the game. The Cardinals are 18-point favorites. 18-point favorites against the Texans. And the Jets are 7-point underdogs against the Patriots. Jameson Crowder's up against a Patriots defense that does not have their top slot corner, and that's exactly where Jameson Crowder plays. And AJ Green is, on the wrong side of 32 years old as an 18-point. Like, it's just not a good AJ Green week. And I feel like this is the type of week where we're going to look back and be like, wow, how could we possibly predict that AJ Green goes for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns? But it's just not. You can't start AJ Green with confidence this week. AJ Green or Julio? Yeah, I'd go Julio Jones for sure. Can you please answer Bears or Bucks? I think the Bears have a very real chance to stay in this game with the Buccaneers. They're 11-point underdogs, though. So obviously I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. If you straight up like who's going to win, it's going to be the Bucks. But I do think the Bears could make it an interesting game. I honestly think the only chance, though, the Bears have to make it an interesting game is to let Justin Fields actually throw the ball. He hasn't had a single game with over 27 passing attempts, which for most teams is their low, not their high. Like, for example, the Buccaneers are throwing the ball over 40 times a game. So if that's how it goes in this game, the Bears are going to get crushed. But if they let Justin Fields test the deep ball, then they have a chance to stay with the Bucks, especially because the Bears defense has been pretty good. Start Allen Robinson or Devontae Smith PPR. Yeah, I still go Devontae Smith over A-Rob. I think A-Rob has clear ceiling, a really high ceiling, but I'm pretty nervous about his floor. All right, let's take a quick look at this question from Yarjma. Pick 3, 12-man auction draft. Wow. All right, DeAndre Hopkins, Ridley, Chase. Yes, you can't bench Cooper Kupp. You're not allowed to bench Calvin Ridley. And honestly, you can't really bench DeAndre Hopkins either. So I think, again, big favorites for the Cardinals today. I still think I would go Hopkins with the Kupp. All right. We got a new subscriber in the comments here. Appreciate you subscribing, guys. If you're watching live on YouTube for the first time, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. When we get to 200 YouTube likes, we got a free prop pick coming your way that I feel really good about today. See if I can find this comment. I can't find it right now. I just switched to a Mac. I'm usually a PC person. Now the scrolling is backwards. It's just brutal. It's very hard for me to use Macs, but I got to get used to it. I just got a new Mac. All right, let's take a quick look here. Bateman, Hardman, or AJ Green. Thank you for the 5-star review, by the way. Guys, we're trying to hit 5,000 5-star reviews in the iOS App Store. So toss WalterPicks a 5-star review if you haven't yet. I do appreciate it, especially if I can get to your question. Bateman, Hardman, AJ Green. At least one of these guys is going to have a big game, and I don't think it's going to be AJ Green. I really would go between Bateman and Hardman. I think Hardman has a very high ceiling today His over-under is like 40 receiving yards, but he, to me, has a ceiling of 100. Like the Titans secondary is that bad. They're a bottom 5 secondary in the league this season, and it's only a 4.5 point spread. The Titans offense can put up points against the Chiefs defense, and if they do that, McCole Hardman could easily have a big day. I think Bateman's floor is better, though. Bateman played 60% of the snaps, 6 targets last week in his first career NFL game, and now Sammy Watkins is out this week again. I like Bateman too. I think Bateman's floor is much higher than Hardman's, but I think Hardman's ceiling is significantly higher than Bateman's. So if you're trying to win your week with Hardman, then go win your week with Hardman. If you're trying not to lose your week, then you go with Bateman. Depends what you're going for, man. I personally, though, would go with McCole Hardman because I am a guy that likes to take risks. Subscribe. Hey, Sam, start Gaskin or Darrell Williams. If that's Darrell Williams, it's Darrell Williams over Gaskin. If it's Damian Williams, I think it's much closer. But, Dana, I would probably still go Damian Williams over Gaskin. I really don't like Gaskin this week. Hollywood Brown or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, you got to go Cooks. I'd like Hollywood Brown, but you got to go Cooks. Start Mooney, Bateman, or Ruggs, full PPR. Oh, man. I think it's probably Ruggs. Start Darren Waller? No. You have to have a backup plan for Darren Waller right now. Darren Waller is on the wrong side of game time decision, and he still could play. But the last report about Darren Waller is that he isn't feeling good. Or I think the quote was not feeling great. He's not feeling great in his game time decision, but the game's not till 4, or depending on what time zone you're on. The game is the later half of the day, which means you need a backup plan. I think a good backup plan, if you do have Darren Waller, is O.J. Howard, who plays later in the day. There's no Gronk today, no Antonio Brown today, which is another good day for O.J. Howard. By the way, we had O.J. Howard's prop on Thursday night a couple weeks ago, and the line was like 10.5 yards. He ended up with like 49. The props are over 55% again this season. Waller or Pitts? It's Pitts. Just play the guy that's not dealing with the injury. I would just play the guy that's not dealing with an injury. All right, let me pull up another rankings list on the YouTube Live. Guys, on the YouTube Live, you can see top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Let me pull up my top 10 tight ends because I know we got to dig deep at tight end during the Bypocalypse. Hill availability. Yeah, Tyreek Hill's playing. Tyreek Hill has been playing through the quad injury, and you just have to start Tyreek Hill this week. If he plays the whole game, he only played like half the snaps last week, but he still saw 12 targets. If he gets 12 targets, Tyreek Hill, top 5 wide receiver this week, just book it. So put him into your lineups. All right, there's been no updated news of late. We are a couple hours away from kickoff, starting to get very excited. Is Mike Davis a good play? Yeah, it's Mike Davis week, guys. It is Mike Davis week. It's Mike Davis week this week. You got to be starting Mike Davis with so much confidence this week against the Miami Dolphins. They've had at least one running back go over 65 rushing yards in every single game this season. Their rushing defense is bottom 5 in the NFL. The Falcons are favored against the Dolphins, which is probably one of the only times for Mike Davis all season that he'll be a favorite heading into the game. You got to start Mike Davis. Why do you have Mike Davis if you aren't going to start him against the Dolphins? Same thing goes with Cordell Patterson. You got to like Cordell Patterson even more than Mike Davis this week. You got to like Cordell Patterson right now every single week. When he's on the field, he's getting the ball. They have found the perfect role for Cordell Patterson. Is he going to stay this good? No. There's no way Cordell Patterson finishes a top 10. I think he's a top 5 running back in terms of points per game. And it's just not going to happen. He's not going to score this many touchdowns throughout the season. But it is another good matchup this week for Patterson and Mike Davis. So, yeah, start both of them. I've got 2 questions. All right, let's get these two questions. So, Goddard or Hawkinson? Yeah, I'd go Hawkinson over Goddard. And the second question, Panthers or Pats defense? You have to start the Pats defense, guys. I mean, if you watch that last Pats-Jets game, I don't know how you could not go with the Pats defense. McCole or Corey Davis? Yeah, I'd go McCole Hardman over Corey Davis. Gibson or McKissick this week? I like McKissick more than Gibson this week. And I hate saying it because I was so optimistic about Antonio Gibson going into the season. But this is looking like it's setting up for a better McKissick game than Antonio Gibson game. And I think that I won't be surprised if Antonio Gibson ends up scoring the touchdown and outscores McKissick. But McKissick should see a lot of receiving work today. And I do think the Packers are going to destroy Washington, which is going to be good news for McKissick. So I would go with McKissick, especially if it's a PPR league. If it's not a PPR league, I think you probably have to go Antonio Gibson. Mike Davis or Tyler Lockett? It's Mike Davis. Ben, Mike Davis is just so much safer than Tyler Lockett. It's the scale of safety, like Mike Davis is a lock for at least minimum 7 fantasy points. Tyler Lockett could easily go under 3 points. So I would go Mike Davis for the floor. I think Lockett's ceiling's probably still higher, but I would argue it's actually not that much higher. Lamar Jackson or Hurts. You cannot bench Lamar Jackson. I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but you just can't bench Lamar. Lamar, to me, by the way, is the MVP in the NFL. It's like plus 900 right now for Lamar to win MVP. He's behind Derrick Henry. He's behind Tom Brady in the MVP odds right now. Makes no sense to me. I know Brady's had an insane season. So has Derrick Henry. But Lamar Jackson is literally breaking records every single week. And he's the best rushing quarterback of all time. And the Ravens have by far the most injuries in the league. Like, you take Lamar away from the Ravens and they're a bottom 5 team in the NFL. You got to start Lamar Jackson. Oh God, Matt, this is true Bypocalypse question here. Foster Moreau or Cole Kmet if Waller is out. I would go see if OJ Howard is available. If he's not, then I'd go Kmet. I don't want anything to do with Foster Moreau. He's the backup for Waller, I guess. I don't think he's going to be in the Darren Waller role, though, when Darren Waller's out. McColl or Bateman? This has to be the question of the week. McColl Hardman or Rashad Bateman? I will answer this the same way I've answered this all stream. I think Rashad Bateman's floor is higher than McColl Hardman's floor. I think Rashad Bateman is, like, worst case scenario, we see Bateman get similar volume to last week. 6 targets, played 60% of the snaps in his first career NFL game. Like, that is the floor for Rashad Bateman this week. And there's no Sammy Watkins this week. So I like his floor. I think his floor is 7 fantasy points, which is what he scored last week. But I think McColl Hardman's ceiling is significantly higher. The Titans' defense is so much worse than the Bengals' defense. And McColl Hardman is really only going to need one play. He's going to need one play. Hoity-toity. Oh, let me get to that question in a second. But before I do, I know I pulled up this question. Just subbed. I do appreciate James subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're live on TikTok and YouTube on the YouTube stream. You get so much more information. Top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and picks against the spread, all on the YouTube live that you can't see on the TikTok live because TikTok does not have that feature. So come to the YouTube live, and when we get to 200 YouTube likes, we're also going to give away a free prop pick of the day that I'm feeling good about. All right, who do I bench? McKissick, Mike Davis, or James Conner? Yeah, this one, if it's a PPR league, I think you can consider benching Mike Davis, but only if it's a PPR league. Even in a PPR league, though, I'd still probably go Mike Davis, James Conner. I mean, they are the favorites. James Conner's such a good spot. I'm starting James Conner in my DraftKings lineup this week. I think I'm fine going with Mike Davis, James Conner there. I think all 3 are pretty good options, though. All right, guys, we are live on YouTube and TikTok. We are so close to 200 likes. We're at 140 likes. 140 likes. Hit the like button. We're so close. If everyone in the YouTube live hits the like button, we got the free prop pick right now. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Tight end pickup. Yeah, the tight end pickup. If you have Darren Waller, you got to go look for OJ Howard. He's available in over half of leagues still. There's no Gronk. He had, I think, over 40 yards last week. And there's no Antonio Brown either. All right, hoity-toity, weather report. Yeah, thank you for bringing this up because this is my favorite time of year where I get to part-time as a weather reporter in this job. And every season, I think an edge that is growing larger and larger and larger in fantasy football is understanding when to be concerned about weather and when to not be concerned about weather because people overreact to weather nonstop in fantasy. And there's only one game that I think you should be very concerned about this week. And that game is the 49ers game tonight versus the Colts. Sustained winds around 15 miles an hour, gusts from 20 to 30 miles an hour. Wind over 25 miles an hour. This is a problem, guys. And there's also, on top of this, downpour, torrential rain. And usually the rain is not concerning. But when you combine the rain with sustained high-speed winds, I mean, it's just not a good day to throw the ball. And on top of all of that, players in the past have actually complained specifically about the 49ers field when it rains. So it could be a tough game for offense tonight in this game. If anything, it's going to be a big rushing attack game. Bypocalypse, Ramondre Stevenson or Alex Collins. This is where we're at, guys. And I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. I do not look at bye weeks when I draft. This is another small edge I think I have in fantasy football. Actually, when you use the draft tool in the WalterPicks app, which I know a lot of you use this season, you won't find bye weeks anywhere. And that was completely intentional because it doesn't make sense to focus on bye weeks in your draft. Just go draft the best players and figure it out after. Like, I'd rather have everyone on bye in week 7 and have the best team in my league than, like, have a bunch of guys to play week 7 but not have the best team in the league. Like, that seems simple, but it's not obvious to most people. And a lot of people use bye weeks as their tiebreakers. I don't care about bye weeks. And here I am, though, in week 7, starting Ramondre Stevenson in like half my leagues because all my team is on bye because I didn't look at bye weeks when I drafted. So we'll see if it ends up working out. There's obviously some downside to this strategy as well. But yeah, I would go Ramondre Stevenson over Alex Collins. I don't know how you could possibly trust Alex Collins. He might not even play. He looks like he's going to play. Looks like he's trending towards playing, but he might not even play. And Rashad Penny's back this week. And the Pats are 7-point favorites. Ramondre Stevenson is a guy I like as a deep sleeper, and I think he should be rostered in every league right now. He could just get the James White role in a PPR league and be good. What's up, Sam? The app is goated. Thanks, man. Pick 2, Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter, or Bateman in a half PPR league. Yeah, I'd go Mitchell and Bateman. I'd go Mitchell and Bateman over Michael Carter. Bateman's floor is actually pretty high. And Elijah Mitchell, the weather in that game is very concerning, but it's a little less concerning for the running backs. I just traded Damian Williams for Miles Sanders. Yeah, that's such a dub. I mean, it's not even close. Damian Williams could easily be on a waiver wire near you in the next month, and Miles Sanders just is not going to be. Matt Ryan or Derek Carr? Yeah, it's got to be Matt Ryan this week. It's got to be Matt Ryan. The Dolphins defense just is not good. And it's a big Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson week, but I think Matt Ryan could have a big game too. Mike Davis or Chuba Hubbard, PPR Flex. Yeah, you are not allowed to be playing anyone over Chuba Hubbard this week. You have to play Chuba Hubbard. All right, take a quick look, guys. This is the trade I made. If you're watching live on TikTok, I made a trade this week. And by the way, this is the WalterPicks app. Go download it on the iOS App Store if you have not tried it out yet. We're trying to pass 5,000 5-star reviews for the WalterPicks app today. And this is a trade I made this week using the trade analyzer. And it ended up working out really well. Obviously, Antonio Brown is out today. What are the plays on DraftKings and Prize Picks? Yeah, let me pull up my DraftKings lineup on the YouTube Live. Come to the YouTube Live, guys. Link is in the TikTok bio. But this is a trade I made this week. I'm feeling pretty good about it right now. Ruggs or Julio? Oh, gotta go Julio Jones. You're not allowed to bench Julio or AJ Green. Ertz or Ricky Seals-Jones? Oh, God. I just don't think you can trust Zach Ertz yet. You can't trust him yet. You got to see how much he's going to play first. You got to see how much he's going to play first. All right, guys, I got to plug in my charger really quick. I'll be back on the TikTok Live in just 1 second. And we are just plugging in the charger. All right. Wow, we're up to 2,700 5-star reviews. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. Try out the WalterPicks app yet. Guys, if you haven't tried it out yet, do appreciate that. All right. We're live on TikTok and YouTube. Let's get back to some of the questions here again on the YouTube Live. Let me pull up my DraftKings team. Sorry, I thought I pulled that up. On YouTube, you can see my DraftKings lineup for the day. I'm in a high-stakes head-to-head DraftKings league. I've come in 4th place out of 64 teams 2 straight seasons. And this is what I'm going with today. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill. I think Tannehill and this Chiefs-Titans game, you want pieces of this Chiefs-Titans game today. By far the highest scoring upside of the day is this Chiefs-Titans game. It's 2 top 10 offenses versus 2 bottom 10 defenses. Matches up perfectly for both offenses. Running backs, Darrell Henderson, obviously a huge, huge favorite against the Lions. Chuba Hubbard, I think that Chuba Hubbard could easily end up being the number 1 overall running back this week. He's averaging 20 carries, 80 rushing yards a game over his last 2 games. The Giants defense is not good. Not good at all. And then James Conner, another huge favorite today. Tannehill or Darnold? Yeah, it's got to be Tannehill. It's got to be Tannehill over Darnold today. I'm going with both Rashad Bateman and Mecole Hardman in this DraftKings lineup too. Rashad Bateman's like basically minimum priced on DraftKings this week, which doesn't make much sense. Guys, we're so close to 5,000 5-star reviews, by the way, if you're watching live on TikTok in the iOS App Store for the WalterPicks app. Go check it out. Toss us a 5-star review. I do appreciate it. It takes like 2 seconds and helps us out a ton tremendously. Mike Davis or Elijah Mitchell, love the channel. Thanks, Quinn. Hit that like button and subscribe button, guys, if you haven't, if you're watching live on YouTube. But yeah, I would go Mike Davis over Elijah Mitchell. I think Mike Davis is safer than Elijah Mitchell. Please, Sam. Tannehill, Darnold, Carr, Burrow, Tua. Yeah, I would go with Tannehill. And we've got some people inviting us live. We actually am going to try out bringing up some followers on the live stream, but not today. Maybe tomorrow. But I do want to test it out. I think that could be fun. Pittman or Bateman, watching the weather outside my window, and it is horrible. Full PPR. What window? Where are you? If you're watching the weather, Pittman or Bateman. If you're talking about, I'm assuming you're talking about San Francisco and that 49ers game. And yeah, you can't start Pittman. The wind is bad in that game, over 30-mile-an-hour winds in that game tonight. 49ers versus the Colts. It's a big deal. You don't want any of the passing attack in that game. This is one of the games that you should actually be concerned about with the weather. None of the other games today. It's also going to be raining, downpour, torrential rain in San Francisco. So yeah, I'd go Bateman over Michael Pittman this week. Mike Davis or Darrell Williams? Darrell Williams did well last week with no Clyde. He, I think, was a top 10 running back. But I actually like Mike Davis more than him this week. The Dolphins' run defense is so bad. They've allowed at least one running back over 65 rushing yards in every game this season. I think they're one of two teams that's been the case. Every game, they've allowed one rusher over 65 yards. It could end up being Cordero Patterson. I think it's going to be Mike Davis, though. I could easily be both of them also. But you look at what Darrell Williams did last week, 21 carries and 3 catches, 24 touches for Darrell Williams, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. I still like Mike Davis more, though. Please, Hunter Renfrow or Allen Robinson? Renfrow is safer. Allen Robinson has way higher ceiling, though. I think I would go Allen Robinson there. Goddard or TJ Hawkinson? Yeah, you can't bench TJ Hawkinson. You got to go Hawkinson. Alex Collins or Damian Williams? Guys, this is Bypocalypse week, man. Alex Collins or Damian Williams? I mean, just disgusting decision that you have to make there. I would go with Damian Williams. Damian Williams, especially in a PPR league, feels like he has some receiving ceiling this week as a big underdog against the Bucs. And Alex Collins might not play. Like, you don't want to be relying on Alex Collins this week. Brady or Lamar? Yeah, I'd go Lamar. I'm desperate during this bye week issue. I can either start Khalil Herbert, Gainwell, or Ronald Jones. Yeah, you cannot start Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones really should probably be on the waiver wire, like in every league. So I would probably go. I'd probably go with Khalil Herbert, but I'm not feeling good about it. You don't want to start a guy like Khalil Herbert, who predominantly gets his fantasy points through rushing, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as an 11-point underdog. In the Bucs, we know the Bucs run defense is just so much better than the pass defense. But Gainwell also barely played last week. Miles Sanders played 90% of the snaps last week for the Eagles. So all three of these guys, I mean, yeah, Bypocalypse week. I'd probably go Khalil Herbert, though. Should I start Michael Carter? There's two sides to every start-sit decision. So I can't answer the question without the other side of the decision. This is exactly how the WalterPicks app was built, by the way. In the WalterPicks app on the iOS App Store, you can see it behind me here. You can compare any two players using our start-sit tool. You'll get machine learning projections and boom and bust probabilities based on 10,000 simulations of the week. And it's completely free to download, completely free to try out. If you try out any of the premium subscriptions in the app, you get a completely free 7-day trial. And the trial also can come with DraftKings FanDuel Advice Player Prop Advice. So try it out. If you haven't tried it out yet, try it out. It's the number one way you could possibly help me, too. The only reason I am here today, being able to do this every Sunday morning with you, is the premium subscribers in the WalterPicks app. I remember you mentioned that Walter doesn't identify unders last year, but I saw an under in the app this year. Did Walter get an update? Yeah, Philip. The way that it works right now for the unders, and I do believe, like deep down in my soul, that life is too short to bet unders. Like betting unders just genuinely is not fun. It is not fun. But we have to make sure that we're providing the most value possible for all the premium subscribers in the WalterPicks app. So we will identify unders when Walter really likes them. So there's a little bit higher of a threshold for the unders for Walter to identify those picks. So yeah, there was an update. Walter did identify one under last season, and it was Le'Veon Bell week 1 for the Jets. Yeah, he was on the Jets week 1 last year, and he rushed, I think, for under 10 yards. But he missed last week with Khalil Herbert. So I mean, the unders are brutal, man. The unders are brutal, but you gotta be willing to take unders if you're really trying to have a positive ROI, return on investment, with the props, because the props are just getting higher and higher. Damian Williams or Alex Collins? This is such a brutal question. And I would go Damian Williams over Alex Collins. I don't know how many people have to decide between those two this week. And I'm very happy to see more and more of Ramondre Stevenson questions, by the way, because Ramondre Stevenson has been one of my deep sleepers in fantasy for the past couple of weeks. I think he's secured the James White role for the Patriots. And he might not get a big James White role today as a 7-point favorite against the Jets, but he's looked like the best running back for the Patriots the last couple of weeks. I do think you can start him in a pinch this week. Ertz or Seals Jones? Yeah, again, Bypocalypse, man. You can't start Zach Ertz this week. You just can't start. He's his first game. He's been there like less than 10 days. Sanders or Hardman? I'm leaning Hardman. How about you? I would lean Sanders there. I don't know. I would lean Sanders, Jacob. I think McCole Hardman has a really high ceiling, but Sanders played 90% of the snaps last week, and he did well in the one game that the Eagles had a lead in. And the Eagles are only 3-point underdogs in this game. They definitely could win this game. I would go Miles Sanders. But though I do agree that you could consider Hardman. I like Hardman this week, so he's in my DraftKings line. What do we think of Freeman? Yeah, Devontae Freeman, you got to understand the situation Devontae Freeman is in. Devontae Freeman is in the best possible situation for running back. The Baltimore Ravens rushing attack is the best rushing attack in the league. You just have to basically guard two running backs at all times with Lamar Jackson. So Devontae Freeman with no Latavius Murray, he is startable in fantasy. But he also isn't going to catch any passes, and he needs a touchdown to have a good fantasy day. So he's not a lock by any means. I would be nervous for Freeman, but he is, especially during the Bypocalypse week 7. You can consider starting Devontae Freeman. Allen Robinson or Tyler Lockett? Oh God! I mean, both these guys are just such boom or bust guys. But I would probably say Allen Robinson over Tyler Lockett. AJ Dillon or Ramondre Stevenson? We know you got to know. If you don't know, I mean, AJ Dillon's my favorite player in the NFL. So I do feel like I'm biased to all AJ Dillon questions moving forward. But I still think I would go AJ Dillon over Ramondre Stevenson this week. I love Ramondre too. But let's give him some time and make sure he actually does have that James White role before we start him over Quadzilla, AJ Dillon, Debo Samuel, or Terry McLaurin. By the way, we hit 140 likes. Let's go. We're very close, guys. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 200 likes. What's the free prop pick? Yeah, we need 200 likes, I think, for the free prop pick. Let me pull this up again really quick. See what we're at. We're almost at 200 likes, guys. Smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And when we get there, yeah, we're at 170. We need 30 more likes, guys. We got way more than 30 people in here. So hit the like button. And we got a free prop pick that I really do like today. Debo Samuel or Terry McLaurin. I'm nervous about this game tonight. Wind over 30 miles an hour, downpour rain. I still like Debo Samuel more than all the other pass catchers, though. But I think with the weather, it's okay to go Terry McLaurin over Debo Samuel this week. We are 15 likes away, guys. 15 likes. Hit the like button. We're live on TikTok and YouTube, by the way. On the YouTube live stream, you can get my top 10 rankings at every position, my favorite picks against the spread, all on the YouTube live that you can't see on the TikTok live. So the link is in the bio to come to the YouTube live. And guys, is Rashad Penny startable? No, he's not, because Alex Collins looks like he's going to play. Rashad Penny hasn't seen actual touches in a game, I think maybe one time in his career. That's how injured Rashad Penny has been. I like Rashad Penny's talent. I liked him coming into the league. If he's fully healthy, I think he could be good. But if Alex Collins is playing, you just can't start him. Bateman or Rondell Moore? I'd go Bateman over Rondell Moore this week. Higgins or Shepard? If Shepard plays, it's got to be Shepard. But Shepard is a true game time decision. O.J. Howard or Seals Jones? Yeah, I like O.J. Howard more than Seals Jones this week. Yeah, if Waller can't play, go add O.J. Howard. I think he's probably the best bet. He's not available in every league, but he is available in over half of leagues. So he should be available. And if he is, he also plays later than Darren Waller. So I think he's the perfect option. There's no Gronk. There's no Antonio Brown. I mean, we know the Buccaneers just push the ball down the field. They're 11-point favorites against the Bears. The Bears defense is good, but O.J. Howard could have a bigger role this week. But he's also questionable, but it looks like he's going to play. Burrow or Matt Ryan? God, Matt Ryan is in a good spot this week against the Dolphins. The Dolphins' run defense is bad. Their secondary is also bad, and their secondary is also injured. And Joe Burrow against the Ravens, though, I do like Joe Burrow in how efficient he's been. Joe Burrow, in a vacuum, you're going Joe Burrow over Matt Ryan 10 times out of 10. But this week with the matchups, I'd probably go Matt Ryan. Bateman or Shepard? Yeah, if Shepard plays, if we knew that Shepard was fully healthy, it's definitely Shepard. I mean, Shepard's he's the clear best receiver for the Giants this week. He actually has been really consistent too. But still, I would probably stay away from him if you have Bateman. And you gotta wait to see if Shepard's gonna play. Sam, I hate this monster bye week, but start 2. Edmonds. Let me see this. We're calling it the Bypocalypse this week, guys. So many buys. This is by far the worst week of buys. Edmonds, Michael Carter, J.D. McKissick. Yeah, you got to go Edmonds and McKissick here. You got to go Edmonds and McKissick. I don't like Michael Carter against the Patriots. Is Gaskin startable? No, I don't like Gaskin. Is he startable? Like, yeah, during the Bypocalypse week, in some situations, you can probably start Gaskin. But he is really risky. The Falcons defense isn't good, which is good news for Myles Gaskin. Like, he could easily have a good receiving day. But, I mean, after week 5, he played 72% of the snaps in week 5, and then he jumped immediately back down week 6, back down to 36%. He's now gone under. He's played less than half the snaps in two of his last 3 weeks. He only had 5. He's had 3 straight games with 5 or less carries. He had 3 fantasy points last week, and that was in a PPR league. If it was not a PPR league, he scored less than 3 points. So, yeah, I mean, don't start Myles Gaskin. You can't trust Myles Gaskin. Even during the Bypocalypse, we can't be trusting Myles Gaskin. Gesicki or Darren Waller? I would go Gesicki. Darren Waller's dealing with an injury. 196. Guys, we're 4 likes away. Smash the like button. We are there at 200 likes. By the way, thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Seriously, I think time is just so valuable. So I appreciate you spending some time with me this morning. I appreciate you hitting the like button. We're going to have a fantastic Sunday, guys. It's going to be an exciting Sunday. The Bypocalypse is honestly pretty fun because you get to start some guys that you wouldn't start normally in fantasy football. And you get to use your depth. And depth is going to become more and more important, but it is probably no more important than this week during the Bypocalypse. We have hit 200 likes, and we got the free prop pick coming your way. And I bet a lot of you could guess it if you've been tuned in this entire time. But, guys, it is Mike Davis week. It is Mike Davis week, man. Over 45.5 rushing yards. Over 45.5 rushing yards is where the line is at for Mike Davis. The Dolphins have allowed at least one running back to go over 65 yards in every single game this season. I think Mike Davis and Cordero Patterson could do it, but don't get confused. Cordero Patterson has been far better than Mike Davis in fantasy football, but Mike Davis is still the starting running back for the Atlanta Falcons, and he is going to get more carries than Cordero Patterson, just like he has gotten more carries than Cordero Patterson in almost every game this season. He's had at least 12 carries in each of his last 3 games. He's had at least 12 carries in 4 of his 5 games this season, and his floor is 40 yards. The prop is at 45.5, and his floor is 40. His ceiling is really over 100 against the Dolphins. So you got to like this line. I really think this is a bad line for Mike Davis, and you got to go take the over 45.5 rushing yards for Mike Davis. That's the free prop pick of the day. All right, someone's saying they've been here for over an hour. Let's try to get this question. Please answer Matt Ryan or Tannehill. Yeah, it's Tannehill. You got to like Tannehill a lot against the Chiefs. The Chiefs secondary hasn't stopped anyone. All right, guys, it's Mike Davis week, man. It's Mike Davis week. James Conner or Sterling Shepard? It's James Conner. James Conner is just a massive favorite this week. So you got to go James Conner. Guys, we got like an hour and 15 minutes. Premium subscriber here. Collins or Freeman PPR. Yeah, you can't trust Alex Collins. You just can't trust him. He looks like he's going to play, but he also might not play. And he might be playing through an injury. Rashad Penny's back too. Like, just don't start Alex Collins. I think he's a must bench this week. Waddle or Brown? You have to like Waddle. You have to like Hollywood Brown a lot this week too. No Sammy Watkins. But Waddle's matchup is just so much better. Waddle had 13 targets last week, so I don't know how you could not go Waddle. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, I got the WalterPicks app behind me here. We're almost at 3,000 5-star reviews in the WalterPicks app, so toss us a 5-star review. Do appreciate that. Kirk or Hardman? Yeah, definitely Hardman. It's got to be Hardman over Kirk. All of the Cardinals players I feel like are tough to trust this week. The spread is just insane. 18 points. 18 points. Cardinals are favored by 18 points. Like, what happens when the Cardinals win by 18? Probably their starters aren't going to play very much down the stretch. Brandon Cooks or McLaurin? I got this question last night, actually. I was walking on the street last night in Boston, and someone stopped me and asked, do I start Brandon Cooks or Terry McLaurin? No intro, nothing. Just do I start Brandon Cooks, Terry McLaurin on the spot, walking by on the street? And I told him to start Brandon Cooks. I think I would start Brandon Cooks over McLaurin. And I checked the WalterPicks app afterwards, and Walter actually agreed with me on that. So I would go Brandon Cooks. Connors or Sanders? Connor or Sanders? I'm seeing a lot of James Conner questions all of a sudden. You should probably be starting James Conner this week. I like Miles Sanders a lot too, But I think I like James Conner a little bit more. I want to start both of them this week, though, especially during the Bypocalypse. I bet you can. All right, we're going to update on some of the news. Apparently, Sterling Shepard's pregame warm-up. Adam Schefter just said this about Sterling Shepard's pregame warm-up. It did not go well. Sterling Shepard is on the wrong side of questionable right now, guys. Wrong side of questionable. Get Sterling Shepard out of your lineups. This is not what you want to be reading on Sunday morning about Sterling Shepard. This is not what you want to see. His pregame warm-up did not go well. Get Sterling Shepard out of your fantasy lineups ASAP. You got to get him out of your fantasy lineups. Get James Conner in 100%. That means Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton is the top Giants receiver today. Just crazy. It was a very abbreviated pregame warm-up for Shepard. He's not expected to play in Week 7. This is not official yet, but it's trending in the wrong direction for Sterling Shepard. Yo, Miles Sanders, Cordell Patterson, or Darnell Mooney. Yeah, you can't bench Cordell Patterson this week. It's Mike Davis week, but you also got to like Cordell Patterson. Yeah, Shepard, he's not officially not playing, but it looks like he's not going to play. So we've gotten reports that Sterling Shepard is on the wrong side of questionable. His pregame warm-up was abbreviated, did not go well. He has not officially been ruled out, though, by the Giants, but it looks like Sterling Shepard is not going to play. Yeah, Swift is playing. I see a question about Swift. He's playing, and you got to start him. He's leading all running backs and receiving yards per game this season. Jacobs or Drake? Josh Jacobs, 100%. He's had at least 15 carries back-to-back games, and Josh Jacobs has a pretty good matchup this week, too. Against the Eagles are allowing the 5th most rushing yards per game to running backs this season. Jacobs or Davis? Yeah, I would go Josh Jacobs over Mike Davis, too. I like Mike Davis a lot. It's Mike Davis week. The free prop pick of the day is Mike Davis over 45.5 rushing yards. I'd still go Josh Jacobs, though. Josh Jacobs over-under, I think, is like in the 60s. Ayuk is not a guy you can play this week. You cannot start Brandon Ayuk, the bazooka, this week with the weather in this game tonight. 49ers versus Colts. There's going to be wind over 30 miles an hour at points in this game, along with torrential downpour. It's going to be pouring the whole game. Definitely at the start of the game. So, yeah, get Ayuk as far away from your lineups as you possibly can. Pittman, Mooney, McKissick. Yeah, again, Pittman is another guy that is going to be impacted by the weather in this game. So I'd probably go Mooney. Joe Mixon or DJ Moore. Yeah, you got to start both those guys this week. Joe Mixon, the top 10 running back. DJ Moore is near the top 10 receivers, if not in the top 10 receivers. Let me pull up my – yeah, he is number 5 receiver this week. Joe Mixon is my number 9 running back. So I'd probably go DJ Moore if you had to choose. Do I put Seals Jones in? I got Waller most likely out. Yeah, you can put Seals Jones in. The thing with these injuries, and when they're on the wrong side of questionable, it's like even if they play, that's not going to be as good, right? Darren Waller could play today and still underperform because he's playing through an ankle injury, and he could also re-injure it at some point during the game. So any guy that's like seriously questionable, you usually want to try to bench. So I would be benching Darren Waller today. What tight ends would you start over Ertz? Basically all of them. I don't want to start Zach Ertz. I would start OJ Howard over Zach Ertz. I would start Ricky Seals-Jones over Zach Ertz. I would start, honestly, maybe Foster Moreau over Zach Ertz if Darren Waller is out. Like, this one could easily backfire, but Zach Ertz just hasn't been on the team long enough to be a must start. If you can add must starts and must hits on a green screen on a banner, that would be awesome. Yeah, that's a good idea. I do think, let me just quickly speak through some must starts. I know I do that usually on the Thursday night live, but I haven't been doing it on the Sunday live. But some guys that I think you absolutely have to start. I think you have to start A.J. Brown and Julio Jones this week against the Chiefs. I also think Mecole Hardman is nearing must-start territory against the Titans. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, you have to start them. You have to start them with no Antonio Brown and no Rob Gronkowski. I also think you have to start at the tight end position Dallas Goedert this week. There's no more Zach Ertz. So Dallas Goedert is in must-start territory at the tight end position, at the running back position. Some guys that I think you absolutely need to be starting. Mike Davis, Cordero Patterson, both such good spot against the Dolphins. I think Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Chuba Hubbard, also definite must-starts this week in fantasy. Some deeper sleepers I like at the quarterback position. I think Ryan Tannehill is in a must-start situation, too, against the Chiefs. So there are some must-starts around the league. Rondale Moore, Devontae Freeman. I would go Devontae Freeman over Rondale Moore. Damien Harris or Goddard in a PPR league. Yeah, I'd still go Damien Harris over Goddard. I don't like starting tight ends at flex. Damien Harris is also a 7-point home favorite against the Jets, and he did really well against them the first time they played. Bench 1, Khalil Herbert, Gaskin, McKissick, or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I'd probably bench Gaskin. I want nothing to do with Gaskin. Jamison Crowder flex. Yeah, he's a good flex option. Jamison Elite Crowder is a flex option this week. The Patriots don't have their slot corner. Yeah, I would put Ricky Seals-Jones in over Darren Waller. I don't think you can start Darren Waller this week. He is on the very questionable. He's a true game time decision. Even if he plays, he's playing through an injury. Standard scoring here. Mike Davis, Chase Edmonds, Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, I'd probably go Mike Davis and Chase Edmonds in standard scoring. Hawkinson or Goddard? Yeah, you got to go Hawkinson. Joe Mixon or Jonathan Taylor? I would still probably go Jonathan Taylor over Joe Mixon. Brian Edwards. It is truly the Bypocalypse when we get more Brian Edwards questions. By the way, at the start of the season, Brian Edwards was the only player I had on every single fantasy team. And he is currently on none of those fantasy teams. He's on the waiver wire. I would go Khalil Herbert over Brian Edwards. No Darren Waller makes it a little bit better for him. But, I mean, the floor is just too low. The floor is too low. Slayton, A-Rob, or Corey Davis, 0-6. Please help, Sam. Ralph, you got to turn this around, man. You cannot get shut out this season. This is a pride week. If you were 0-6, you gotta turn this around. And it starts with this start-sit decision. And Darius Slayton, all of a sudden, I think is pretty clearly the best option out of these three. There's no Sterling Shepard. There's no Kenny Golladay. There's no Kadarius Toney. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones has looked much better this season. Daniel Jones is going to get a lot of blame throughout this whole season as the Giants continue to crater. Their defense is bottom 10 in the league. They have really injuries across the entire offense, including Saquon Barkley. But Daniel Jones quietly is actually having a really big season for him, and he's been much better this year. He's been far more accurate, much more consistent. I would go Darius Slayton over Allen Robinson, over Corey Davis. Ralph, I hope you can turn it around, man. I think Allen Robinson has a lot of ceiling today, too, though. Henry Ruggs or Mike Davis, half PPR. Yeah, I'd go Mike Davis. It's Mike Davis week, guys. The free prop pick is Mike Davis over 45.5 rushing yards. Sam, thanks for last answer. Got one more question. I am going to get to as many questions as I possibly can, I promise. Ayuka, the Bazooka, Bateman, or Rondale Moore? Yeah, I'd go Bateman over Ayuk. Ayuk is not a guy you can start this week. Thanks for the gifts in the YouTube live. I do appreciate that. And the TikTok live, sorry. All right, let's get to this question really quick. Then we'll run through some of the games again. I have Gronk and Knox for tight end. So, yeah, you need some points this week. Yeah, definitely go get Gesicki. Go drop. If you're going to drop one of them, if you have to drop one of those tight ends, I would probably drop Gronk before I drop Dawson Knox because Gronk is hurt. Knox is just on a bye. So I would probably go get Gesicki, though, and then try to add Gronk again after you drop him. Gibson or Gaskin? It's Gibson. I mean, it's not even close. Gaskin played a third of the snaps. He's had 5 or less carries in every single game, the last 3 games. Knox broke his hand. Oh, yeah, that's my bad. You're right. Wait, the Bills are also on bye, though. I wasn't wrong about that, right? Yeah, the Bills are on bye. Let me pull this up really quickly. Yeah, I would definitely drop Knox then. It looks like Knox is actually going to be back. He's going to miss 3 weeks. Yeah, I'd probably drop Knox. And maybe you can put him on your IR, too. Sorry about that. Yeah, he broke his hand. You think Christian Kirk or McCole Hardman? Yeah, I'd go McCole Hardman over Christian Kirk. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. On the YouTube live, you can get my picks against the spread, top 10 rankings at every single position. Link is in the TikTok bio. But we are also trying to hit 5,000 5-star reviews in the iOS App Store, and you can help us out with that too. If I help you out with anything this morning, that is a very easy and completely free way to help me out in return. A 5-star review in the iOS App Store. It really just helps out a lot. WalterPicks app. Going to help you dominate your start-sit decisions in fantasy, dominate DraftKings and FanDuel, dominate player props, and dominate trades in fantasy too. All that in the WalterPicks app and more. DJ or Tannehill? DJ or Tannehill? Yeah, it's got to be Tannehill. With all the injuries for Daniel Jones, it's got to be Tannehill. Waddle or Shepard? Shepard's not playing today. Sterling Shepard is looking doubtful today. It's not officially out, I don't think, but it's trending towards officially out. I would say 90% chance right now Sterling Shepard doesn't play. And that honestly might be generous. The report was that his hamstring, he had a not good pregame warm-up, a very abbreviated and not good pregame warm-up for Sterling Shepard. So it's probably not going to happen. Cortland or Ithaca. Yeah, Cortica is coming up. I think Cortica is in like a couple of weeks. Go Bombers, man. Go Bombers. Ithaca is going to take that one for sure. Mitchell or Bateman? I'd probably go Bateman over Mitchell. It is close, though. I mean, Mitchell is going to see the bulk of the touches for the 49ers tonight in a really brutal weather game. Shouldn't impact running backs as much, but it could. It could. If the weather is bad enough in this 49ers-Colts game and you just know both teams are going to have to run the ball, it will impact the game for the running backs too. And I think Bateman, with no Sammy Watkins, he has a good floor. In the PPR league, I think Rashad Bateman's floor this week is 7 points. That's what he had last week in his first career NFL game. And I think that's his floor moving forward. Jalen Waddle or Chase Edmonds? I definitely go Waddle over Edmonds. Christian Kirk or Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah, I'd probably go Kirk over St. Brown. Yeah, Shepard, unlikely. Just on top of the Bypocalypse. So many injuries, too, right now. I would say if you are deciding between Rashad Bateman and Hunter Renfrow, yeah, I'd probably go Rashad Bateman. Guys, we are an hour and a half away from football. We're getting really close. We have been live for over 2 hours now. We got like an hour left in the live stream. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Seriously, especially you, everyone that's been here from the beginning. I do appreciate the support and the time. And it's gonna be an exciting Sunday. We got a lot of tough decisions to make. Cooks or Connor for DFS. Yeah, Connor's the safer option. James Conner's a 18-point favorite. An 18-point favorite. I mean, I honestly do not remember a game with this big of a spread. 18 points. Cardinals versus the Texans. And the more you think about that spread, like you got to take the Texans with the 18 points in the NFL. 18 points. There will probably be teams this week that don't even score 18 points. Crazy. Mooney or Hardman DFS? Yeah, I would go Hardman over Mooney, and I would go Connor over Cooks. Zach Wilson or Davis Mills? Andrew. Oh, man. I mean, you're down bad. You're down bad right now, Andrew. You should probably go with Zach Wilson. But honestly, both these guys could easily score negative points this week. Like that's what you're dealing with here. So, guys, if you are down bad, just know that Andrew has to decide between Zach Wilson and Davis Mills this week. So things could be worse. Things could be worse, guys. I would go Zach Wilson. Stafford or Brady? Yeah, I would probably go with Stafford over Brady. Stafford has the better matchup, but it's also a hashtag revenge game for Matthew Stafford. And usually, like that, I don't think that's that big of a deal. But for quarterbacks specifically, I think it kind of is. I'd actually love to do a study on this with the revenge game narrative. Obviously, like it's probably not going to be. You're probably not going to find any trend there with revenge games. But today, the Rams are 16-point favorites against the Lions. But I feel like because this is Matthew Stafford against his former team, that he might just keep the foot on the gas like all game. They could be up multiple touchdowns. Stafford could still just be throwing a ton, and that's usually not the case. So yeah, I would probably go Stafford over Brady. I think I have him ranked one spot ahead in my rankings on YouTube Live. Link is in the bio for TikTok if you want to come see my top 10 rankings for every position. Let me pull up my quarterbacks really quickly here. Yeah, I have Stafford ranked at 4, Brady ranked at 5. I think they're both good options. Look forward to these lives every week. Thanks, Carson. I appreciate that. With Shepard out, Slayton, Michael Carter, or Michael Pittman at flex. Yeah, so let's run through each of these guys really quickly. Michael Pittman is not a guy that you can trust. The weather is not good tonight. Wind over 30 miles an hour, really bad rain. So Michael Pittman, Brandon Ayuk, all these guys that you were considering in your flex that are receivers in this game tonight, you got to move out of your lineup. The only exception there is Deebo Samuel, because Deebo Samuel is just so good after the catch. But even him, you got to downgrade slightly because of the weather. Michael Carter, 7-point underdog against the Pats. Like, his floor is probably the highest of these guys because he's going to lead the backfield in touches, most likely for the Jets. But I would go with Darius Slayton. Like, Darius Slayton does have a ceiling. And I expect the Panthers to lead in this game. Like, the Giants are going to have to throw. And quietly, low-key, Daniel Jones is having the best season of his career. And Slayton's going to be out there pretty much every snap. So far this season, we haven't really seen that many big performances from Darius Slayton. He's only played in 3 games. But when he played against Washington, he turned 6 targets into 54 yards and a touchdown on just 3 catches. Like, he only is going to need a couple big plays to return value for you. I'd probably go Slayton. But obviously, all these guys are risky. I want to pull up Daniel Jones really quickly here because I think he is the reason that Slayton is the move here. Woods or Metcalf? Man, Metcalf is really just so tough to trust. In Robert Woods against the Lions, like I was talking about with Matthew Stafford, I mean, that does trickle down to Robert Woods. So I would not knock you for going Woods over Metcalf. But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to start Robert Woods over DK Metcalf because we all know you want to be starting DK Metcalf. But it's Geno Smith versus Matthew Stafford. So just go with Matthew Stafford. Start Robert Woods. Don't overthink it. Go with the better quarterback. That is the best tiebreaker, by the way, for wide receiver decisions. Just go with the better quarterback if it's close. Like Geno Smith and Matthew Stafford aren't even in the same stratosphere in terms of quarterback play. Slayton or Mooney? I would probably lean towards Mooney over Slayton. Like, I don't think Slayton's a lock by any means. But they're really similar options. Like, both Mooney and Slayton, they're going to need 1 or 2 big plays to return value today. And they could easily do that. The Bears have to let Justin Fields throw the ball today. I think, and it's probably not going to happen. He hasn't done that a single time yet this season. But we look at Daniel Jones, and I know Daniel Jones had a brutal injury against the Cowboys, but Daniel Jones has quietly had a breakout season. He's quietly having a breakout season. Even though the Giants are crumbling around him, he has improved in almost every efficiency metric. He's averaging over 250 yards per game. He's top 20 in the league in completion percentage, top 12 in the league in play action completion percentage. And he's been hitting deep balls too. He's been better with the deep ball. So yeah, I think I like Slayton a little bit this week. Aaron Rodgers or Cordero Patterson. Was that the question? Aaron Rodgers or Patterson? Oh, for Patterson. I missed the F there. I thought it was or Patterson. It was for Patterson. Yeah, I would do that. And almost any time that I can trade a quarterback for an actual valuable piece that's a running back or receiver, I'm willing to do that because you can just go to the waiver wire, just go add Ryan Tannehill, and then boom, you have a top 8 quarterback this week. And then next week, there's going to be another top 8 quarterback available for free on the waiver wire. This is why it doesn't make sense to be spending a lot for quarterbacks in fantasy. There's just so many good quarterbacks, and then you can also just play for matchups. Or you can just wait till round 10 and draft Jalen Hurts like I did in 4 of my 6 leagues. And then you don't need to spend on a quarterback, and you get a top 5 fantasy football quarterback. Hawkinson or Ruggs at flex. God, I hate starting tight ends in flex. I really do. But this one's close. I think that I would probably lean towards Hawkinson. But Ruggs does have an interesting ceiling today, especially if Darren Waller sits. I got Mahomes in the 5th. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That's a reasonable time to take Mahomes. My quarterback strategy, by the way, looking back at draft strategy for a quick second, which is fun to do at this point in the season, my quarterback strategy and tight end strategy were probably really the only reason my teams are doing well. The quarterback strategy this season was if you can get Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen, and you can be the last guy in your league to get one of those players, you should probably do that because all 4 of those guys could be the number 1 overall quarterback this season, which is still true, by the way. And that was a good strategy. So, yeah, if you got Mahomes in the 5th and you went after all those other guys, then it was a good pick. Same thing with Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, and Josh Allen. But I'm not going to reach for any of those guys. And if I don't get any of them, I'm just going to wait, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait, and I'm going to take Jalen Hurts in the 8th or 9th round. And he was a top 5 fantasy football quarterback because rushing matters so much for fantasy football scoring. It's a broken system. So you just play to the system, and you go draft Jalen Hurts. Like I say, it's not that hard. And at tight end, the strategy was really, I'm fine to reach for Travis Kelce, who's putting up wide receiver 1 numbers in our tight end slot, by far the biggest positional advantage in fantasy football. I'm fine reaching for Darren Waller, who had a couple massive weeks but hasn't been that consistent. I'm fine reaching for Kyle Pitts, who's been a buy low candidate for a while and now clear tight end 1. But if I'm not going to reach, I'm just going to wait for TJ Hawkinson. And yeah, the tight end position is pretty brutal. Is Ramondre Stevenson out? No, is he out? That would be sad. Let me see. I don't think he's out, but I'm going to refresh really quick. I hope he's not out. Devontae Parker is officially out. I'm reading right here. So that's good news for Jalen Waddle. Wow, Ramondre Stevenson, inactive today. Wow, he's definitely in some of my starting lineups. I got to go take him out. Guys, Ramondre Stevenson, out. Devontae Parker, out. Tevin Coleman, out. Sterling Shepard, out. All these guys out. Get them out of your lineups ASAP. Officially active. Tyreek Hill playing. Julio Jones playing. Antonio Gibson playing. Evan Ingram playing. Darius Slayton playing. Officially inactive. Sterling Shepard is not playing. Devontae Parker is not playing. Ramondre Stevenson is not playing. What's the deal with Ramondre Stevenson? Healthy scratch. Wow, man. The Ramondre Stevenson hype is just put to such a fast halt by Bill Belichick, man. God. This is why the Patriots can't have nice things. We're going to play Brandon Bolden over Ramondre Stevenson. Like, if you just watch the Pats games, it's not even close. The Patriots have a very real chance to lose today. They have a very real chance to lose today. I'm a full sub to the app. Thanks, Jack. Is there a strategy you like for prize picks? Yeah, Jack, this is a good question. Actually, I've been meaning to make a post about this on TikTok too. Yeah, there is a strategy I like. I think going with just 2 players is the strategy. And I'm fine with the flex option too. I think the flexing 2 players and prize picks is the move. You obviously are hoping both hit, in which case you double your money. And if you only have 1 hit, you still get half your money back. So I think it's the most fair way and the best way to use prize picks. Choose 2 players and do the flex option. You just need one of them to hit, and you'll get at least half back. And then if both hit, you profit. So I think that's what I do. What I usually do on prize picks. And by the way, prize picks also has some of the softest prop lines, some of the softest lines. If you guys haven't used prize picks before, code is Walter. If you sign up, you get a free deposit bonus. Julio or Devontae Smith? It's Julio Jones, man. It's Julio Jones. I like Devontae Smith this week, but the Chiefs-Titans game, you want pieces of this game today. You do. It's going to be the highest scoring game of the day, or at least projects to be the highest scoring game of the day. Bateman, Slayton, or Tyler Johnson? Julio or Mooney? Yeah, I'd go Julio over Mooney, Richard. Bateman, Slayton, or Tyler Johnson? Please help Sam. Yeah, Tyler Johnson's a deep sleeper. For those of you that had some of these guys that are out now in your lineups, I do think Tyler Johnson's a deep sleeper, projected to be the number 3 receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, with no Antonio Brown and no Rob Gronkowski, but I still would probably go Bateman. I think I like Bateman more than Slayton. I think Bateman's floor is still a lot higher than Slayton's. Slayton's ceiling, I think you could argue, is higher now with Sterling Shepard out. Sterling Shepard is out. So Slayton's the number 1 receiver for the Giants. But I still think Bateman's safer. Bateman or Myers? Yeah, I'd go Myers. Julio or Henry Ruggs? I would go Julio over Henry Ruggs. Mooney or McKissick? I would go McKissick over Mooney. Burrow or Tanny? I like Tannehill today, guys, against the Chiefs. Julio's playing. A.J. Brown is playing. The Chiefs secondary is trash. They played 6 games. 4 of those games, they let up a top 5 QB performance. 4 out of the 6. Mooney or Renfro? Yeah, Mooney has the higher ceiling. Renfro has the higher floor. So choose your poison. I would probably go Mooney personally. Lockett or Mooney? Oh God, this is such a headache with Lockett in fantasy right now. I think you still go Lockett over Mooney, but I mean they actually are pretty similar options. AJ Brown or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, I'd probably go AJ Brown. I think you have to start. Let me run through some guys I think you have to start. Just got the Shepard news. Do I start Freeman or Bateman for him? The Bypocalypse is only getting harder with the Shepard news, Alexander. But honestly, this is good. You want your players to sit out if they're hurt. Like you want really just the humane thing to want is if you're hurt, don't play. So I'm glad Sterling Shepard is not pushing through the injury. But I think you got to go Freeman. I think you got to go Freeman over Bateman. It's close though. It really is close. In a PPR league, I would go Bateman. If it's not a PPR league though, I think I'd probably go with Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman's almost definitely going to touch the ball more than Bateman today. So I think the floor is higher. Myers or Edmonds in a PPR league. I'm not feeling good about Chase Edmonds this week. He's dealing with an injury, and the Cardinals are massive, massive favorites against the Texans. Like it makes sense for Edmonds not to play as much and touch the ball as much in a very run-heavy game for the Cardinals. That's going to be a James Conner game. So as long as this game goes as expected, I don't think you can feel good about Chase Edmonds. So I'd probably go Jacoby Myers. By the way, Jacoby Myers is on pace right now to break the record for the most yards ever by a wide receiver without a touchdown. Just crazy. Patriots defense or Rams defense? Yeah, both are really good options. In DraftKings, I like the Patriots defense because they're cheaper. But overall, you got to like the Rams defense is a 16-point favorite against the Lions. Waddle or A.J. Brown? Yeah, these are two guys I think you got to like this week. I don't think you can bench A.J. Brown. As much as I like Waddle against the Falcons, he had 13 targets last week. I still think you go A.J. Brown. Damian Harris is all of a sudden a better option this week with Ramondre Stevenson out, by the way. I'm seeing some Damian Harris questions. Yeah, you got to like Damian Harris. Waddle or Lockett? Yeah, that one's Waddle for sure. Pettis or Slayton? Oh, God. This is going to be so brutal. This is going to be such a brutal week for everyone with Darius Slayton. I'm telling some people to start Darius Slayton. I really do like Darius Slayton as the top receiver for the Giants, and I think he does have a ceiling. But Dante Pettis could easily out-target Darius Slayton. Like, that won't shock me at all. But I would still say Darius Slayton over Dante Pettis. I mean, he's definitely better. McCole Hardman or A.J. Dillon? Quadzilla, man. We love A.J. Dillon. He's my favorite player in the NFL. But I still think I would go McCole Hardman. I think McCole Hardman against the Titans is a really good spot. A.J. Brown or Allen Robinson? Definitely A.J. Brown. Hey, Sam, buys really messed up my team this week. Yeah, Joseph, you are not alone. It is the Bypocalypse week, man. Projected 100. Should I start with Julio or Myers this week? Definitely Julio. Especially for your teams that are like down bad this week and projected to get crushed. Those are the teams where you got to take a risk. Like, you have to take a risk to try to win. And you can win if you take a risk. And Julio Jones is the perfect risk to take. I mean, he could easily go over 100 yards. Elijah Mitchell or Miles Sanders? I'd go Sanders over Mitchell. James Conner or Jacobs? I like both guys this week a lot. I like Josh Jacobs more than James Conner. I like Josh Jacobs a lot. The Eagles have allowed the 5th most rushing yards per game to running backs this season. 5th worst. 5th worst against running backs this season is the Philadelphia Eagles. Meanwhile, Josh Jacobs has seen 15-plus carries in back-to-back games. So you got to like Josh Jacobs this week. I mean, he really is in a good spot. McCole Hardman or Corey Davis? Yeah, I like Hardman more than Corey Davis. I really don't like Corey Davis this week. The last time Corey Davis played against the Patriots, 2 passes bounced off his hands straight into the Patriots defense. Yo, Damian Harris. Yeah, Damian Harris can be started over Devontae Smith in a full PPR league. Damian Harris has a safer floor than Devontae Smith. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Damian Harris is going to rush for minimum 50 yards, could easily score a touchdown today. Like, Damian Harris is a guy you want to be starting. I would go Damian Harris. I with no Ramondre Stevenson too. Like, you got to like Damian Harris. He did really well against the Jets the last time they played too. I think he had that big touchdown run, if I remember correctly. That was against the Jets. You got to go Damian Harris. Damian Harris is setting up really well. By the way, Damian Harris was my most drafted running back in my best ball leagues. And that's actually doing okay today. Looking okay so far this season. Yeah, Damian Harris had 18 carries last week, 14 carries the week before. He's coming off a 108-yard rushing game. I didn't realize he did that well. So, yeah, I mean, Damian Harris could easily hit 20 carries today. The last time he played the Jets, he had 16 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown, 13 points. Top 20 running back that week. Myers or Waddle? Yeah, that one's Waddle. Waddle had 13 targets last week. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, by the way, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's not too late to go download the WalterPicks app as well in the iOS App Store. It's going to help you answer all the questions I'm seeing in the chat right now. You can help answer those questions with the WalterPicks app. It's completely free to download. It's on the iOS App Store. I've spent over 10,000 hours of my lifetime on the WalterPicks app to help you answer these questions. It's going to give you the information you need to best answer all these start-sit questions and all these trade questions. It uses machine learning to give you the best projections you could possibly get. That's the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store. Do appreciate you trying it out. Let me know what you think too. We're always taking feedback. Do I bench DK this week? Yeah, if you can. Do I trade Zeke? No, I don't think this is the time to trade Zeke. What receivers could I get for Giants due to a lot of injuries? I really don't understand the question. What receivers can you get for Giants? I don't know what that means. All right, really quickly, one more time, guys. The weather report. This is honestly something I look forward to all year. Is the weather reports on Sunday morning, because I actually think every year we're starting to lose edges in fantasy, right? The fantasy football population in general is starting to get smarter over time, right? Like we all kind of know you got to draft quarterbacks late. We know you want running backs that catch and quarterbacks that run. But one of the edges that is overlooked in fantasy football is weather. And people overreact to the weather so much that they sometimes overthink weather and then make suboptimal start decisions. And we're not going to let that happen on these live streams. We're going to only panic about weather when panic is warranted. And tonight, panic is warranted. Wait, no way. Slayton is out. Let me double check that really quick. But yeah, you gotta be nervous about this 49ers game tonight. Is Slayton out or is Sterling Shepard out? I saw Sterling Shepard is out. Let me quickly scroll through Twitter here. I did not. I believe Sterling Shepard. I believe Gary Slayton is playing. But I'm just refreshing here to double check. Latavius Murray, Sammy Watkins out. Healthy scratch for Ramondre Stevenson. Yeah, no. Gary Slayton's playing. Fake news. Sam, thoughts on this trade? I'm trying to do Henderson and Sanders for Edmonds, Moss, and Godwin. Yeah, I don't like that. I like Henderson and Sanders. Darrell Henderson too has a lot of upside with his schedule the rest of the season. The Rams are really good too. Phil sees me on TikTok Live. What's going on, Phil? I'm not in last place in our league, Phil, and that is all I care about. Very brutal last place punishment in that league. I have, by the way, I'm in like 6 leagues that I really care about. High stakes leagues. This is one of them, Phil. And in 4 of them, I have the second most points scored or the most points scored in the league, and I'm not in the top 6 in the standings. Just brutal defense for my fantasy teams this season. Got to play better defense than that. I'm getting Henderson and Sanders. Oh yeah, Yarshman, you got to do that trade then. Gibson or McKissick PPR. Yeah, the Gibson. The people with Gibson, it's panic time for Antonio Gibson. He's dealing with injuries. He doesn't have a big receiving role. He really is this touchdown-dependent running back for fantasy football teams this season. But you got to go with McKissick. In this game, they're big underdogs. The Packers are probably going to blow away the Washington football team in this game. The Washington football defense has allowed 3 straight top 10 quarterback performances. Rodgers is probably going to be the 4th. And that's going to lead to a more of a McKissick-type game. Like Kenny Golladay, Shepard, Tony are out for the Giants, so is there another good receiver for them? Yeah, some good receivers that I think you can go trade for right now. Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman is people don't quite realize how good Rashad Bateman is going to be. And I also feel like people haven't quite caught on to the fact that Lamar Jackson is a much better passer this season. And he's pushing the ball down the field much more. That's why we cast Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns a couple of weeks ago against the Colts. He threw 4 touchdowns. And we were getting plus odds on 1.5 passing touchdowns for Lamar. And Lamar is number 2 in the NFL in air yards per attempt, which means he's on average throwing the ball deeper downfield per passing attempt than every other quarterback in the NFL except for 1. So yeah, you got to feel good about Lamar and Rashad Bateman. I think Rashad Bateman's a pretty good guy to go target. I also think Rondo Moore, another rookie that has performed not great recently, but I still think he's going to play more and more as the season goes on. Slayton, Pittman, or Allen Robinson. You can't start Michael Pittman this week. There's very serious wind and rain tonight in the 49ers Colts game. You should not be starting Michael Pittman. You should not be starting Brandon Ayuk. You can still start Deebo Samuel, but you still have to feel worse about it. The wind is bad. 30-mile-an-hour winds. So yeah, I wouldn't start Pittman. I would go A-Rob, honestly, over Slayton too. I at least we know Allen Robinson is good still. And this is a game. The Bears have to throw the ball in this game. They have to throw the ball. Like minimum 25 passing attempts for Justin Fields. And the most passing attempts he has so far this season is 27. But they just have to, you're going to have to throw the ball. They're 11-point underdogs. Green or Metcalf. Yeah, I mean, come on. We're in 2021. You can't be ever starting AJ Green over DK Metcalf and feeling very good about it. AJ Green, all-time great, but it's Metcalf's turn this week. I'm tanking because I have 7 inactive plays, and I don't want to ruin my team. Yeah, it's tough with the injuries. Like you could not possibly have enough IR spots this season. Most of my leagues have 1 IR spot. Some of them have 2, and I have like 4 to 5 guys inactive, even without the buys. And you don't want to drop guys. Like sometimes in fantasy with weeks like this, you just got to take the L. Like you don't want to hurt the rest of your season for 1 week, because you also could still lose this week. Like, you could drop guys that you want to start next week and then also lose this week, and then you just really dug yourself into a hole. What receivers will play for the Giants today? Yeah, it's Darius Slayton and Dante Pettis are the top 2 receivers for the Giants. The Giants are getting close to rivaling the Detroit Lions. No, honestly, it's not even close. The Lions receiving group, with all the injuries they've had, even to start the season, just the worst group of receivers I've ever seen on any team in the NFL. Every single Lions wide receiver, honestly, is there any Lions wide receiver that would start on any other team? Think about that. Is there one Lions receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Khalif Raymond? I honestly don't think they would even start for the Giants today. I think Dante Pettis and Slayton would, just crazy. But yeah, it's Slayton and Dante Pettis for the Giants. Should I start Julio over Gibson at flex? Yes, I would do that. I would start Julio Jones over Antonio Gibson, and I would take on that risk because Julio Jones has a really high ceiling against the Chiefs. Ooh, I like this one. Pettis or Tyler Johnson, GPP. GPP, for those of you listening, is just short basically for tournament in DraftKings and FanDuel. I think I'm blanking on what the acronym actually stands for, but it's a tournament on DraftKings and FanDuel, which means you're going up against like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. So you got to take risks in these types of tournaments. And Pettis is definitely the better option, because the other part of this too is there's going to be a lot of people you're playing against that just don't adjust for this Sterling Shepard news. And so Pettis almost definitely will be less rostered than Tyler Johnson. And I think they have similar ceilings. And like I said earlier, I'm not going to be that surprised if Dante Pettis out-targets Darius Slayton. Like, Dante Pettis just doesn't run as many deep routes too. He had targets the other week. So yeah, I would go Pettis. I think Tyler Johnson's an interesting option too, but I feel like he'll be a little bit more popular. Bateman or Mooney, half API, I'd probably go Bateman. Do I trade Zeke and Hunter Henry for Dalvin Cook? Yeah, I would do that trade. Miles Sanders or Chase Edmonds? Yeah, definitely Sanders. Guys, Miles Sanders played 90% of the snaps. 90% of the snaps last week. Do I bench DK? Well, guys, again, every start-sit decision has 2 sides, which is why in the WalterPicks app, you can go in the WalterPicks app in the iOS App Store, and you can tap on any 2 players, and then you just get the projections for those 2 players and the boom and bust probability based on machine learning. Julio or Slayton? Julio or Slayton or Bateman? Yeah, guys, Julio, I really do think Julio is a must-start this week against the Chiefs. DraftKings lineup. Yeah, let me run through my DraftKings lineup really quickly. This is my head-to-head lineup for DraftKings. Guys that I feel very confident about this week, all of these guys. Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. The Chiefs have allowed 4 top 5 quarterback finishes this season. 4 out of their 6 games, the quarterback they played against finishes a top 5 quarterback in fantasy that week. And I think Ryan Tannehill could be the 5th quarterback to do it against the Chiefs this week. Julio Jones is playing. A.J. Brown is playing. At running back, Darrell Henderson against the Giants. The Giants offense somehow is just getting worse and worse with all these injuries. And the Rams, Darrell Henderson's against the Lions. My bad. I think he beat the Giants last week. 16-point favorite against the Lions for Darrell Henderson. Chuba Hubbard is a 3-point favorite against pull this up really quickly. Right, they're playing the Giants. Chuba Hubbard is averaging 20 carries, 81 rushing yards per game over his last 2 games. He's averaging 20 carries a game over his last 2 games, and that doesn't even include the targets. The Panthers' backfield is just so valuable. And then the Giants also, they've allowed the 2nd most rushing yards per game to running backs. Darrell Henderson was the latest victim. So yeah, you got to like Chuba Hubbard a lot. Like, Chuba Hubbard is a top 6 option at the running back position this week. So running backs on DraftKings, Henderson, Chuba Hubbard, and I'm going James Conner too. 18-point favorites for the Cardinals. Just ridiculous spreads this week. Rams, 16-point favorites. The Cardinals, 18-point favorites. Then at wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, who didn't play 2 weeks ago, had a bye week last week. He's back this week, and I think he's been one of the most obvious buy low candidates in fantasy for quite some time. He's probably going to go over 100 yards today. At wide receiver, I'm paying down for Rashad Bateman and McCole Hardman. I think Rashad Bateman is the best value wide receiver this week. He's basically minimum price on DraftKings. And I think his floor is 7 points. Minimum price for the floor of 7 points. Yeah, you can sign me up for that all day long in a head-to-head contest. Honestly, in a tournament, I think he should be considered too. Lamar Jackson has been more aggressive passing this season. The 2nd most air yards per attempt. That's really good news for Rashad Bateman. And the matchup's not great. Like, the Bengals defense has actually been pretty good. But I'm gonna side with Lamar on this one and go with Rashad Bateman as the best value of the week. And then Mecole Hardman, I've told a lot of people today, start Mecole Hardman. We're big Mecole Hardman fans on this live stream today because the ceiling is there in that game. Mecole Hardman just needs 1 or 2 big plays, and he's going to smash value on DraftKings and for your fantasy lineups. Last but not least, I'm paying down for Rashad Bateman so I can pay up for Travis Kelce, especially no Darren Waller looking like on this slate now too. I mean, just pay up for Kelce. Get the wide receiver 1 production in your tight end slot. Take the biggest positional advantage in fantasy. That's why DraftKings is fun. I can just play Travis Kelce every week. And then for defense, I'm going with the Patriots. Slayton or Renfrow? Yeah, I actually think I like Renfrow a little bit more than Slayton. I think the floor is still higher for Renfrow than Slayton. We are about 1 hour away from football, guys. We got like 30-ish minutes left in this live stream. I'm going to try to answer as many questions as I possibly can throughout the rest of this live. But we're getting close. We're getting close, man. Do I replace Shepard with Lockett or someone else? I don't know who else is on your team, Drew, but Lockett's a pretty good option. 5-star review. Thanks, man. Yeah, 5-star review in the iOS App Store for the WalterPicks app. We're trying to hit 5K, 5-star reviews. Do really appreciate that. Julio, Waddle, Evans, T. Higgins, pick 3. Yeah, Julio, it's the first 3. It's definitely the first 3. You have to start Mike Evans. You have to start Chris Godwin. You got to really like Waddle with no Devontae Parker. You got to like Rashad Bateman with no Sammy Watkins. You got to like Julio Jones and A.J. Brown against the Kansas City Chiefs. You also can consider Darius Slayton and Dante Pettis with no Kenny Golladay or Sterling Shepard or Kadarius Toney. Corey Davis or Julio Jones, I'm seeing in the TikTok chat, is definitely Julio. Guys, start Julio Jones. I know he has not been good this season. He's dealt with injuries. He's still dealing with injuries. But this is the matchup for Julio, man. The Chiefs are going to put up points against the abysmal Titans defense. And Julio actually played almost 70% of the snaps last week. So, yeah, I would go Julio Jones. Hey, Sam, Rashad Bateman or Mike Gesicki at the flex? Yeah, it's got to be Bateman over Gesicki. I would go Bateman over Slayton as well. Bateman has a good floor. Robbie Anderson, man. Robbie Anderson actually had a lot of targets last week and did not produce with them. The Robbie Anderson bounce back week is going to come. And nobody should be surprised when the Robbie Anderson big week comes. But it's pretty clear Robbie Anderson will not be consistent this year. He's the definition of a boom bust option. So you're just praying that you happen to start him on one of the boom weeks, but nobody knows when it's coming. It could be this week. It could be 3 weeks from now. It's coming, but it's just impossible to predict. This is not what you want in fantasy. Still start Bateman over Michael Carter, even though Tevin Coleman is out. Yeah, Philip, I do think that impacts Michael Carter. Tevin Coleman, let me pull up Tevin Coleman really quick. Let's take a quick look at how big of a role Tevin Coleman has had. Because I do think Michael Carter is a better play, though he still is a 7-point underdog against the Pats. Yeah, I mean, Tevin Coleman played 9% of the snaps last week. He had 3 carries. Sorry, week 5. He had 3 carries. He hasn't had more than 10 carries in a single game this season. He's had less and less carries every single game. Yeah, I don't think it changes that much. I would still go Bateman. Bateman over Ruggs. I don't know, man. Bateman versus Ruggs is close. I think Ruggs has a higher ceiling than Bateman. I would argue that they probably have similar floors. I would probably go Ruggs, though, especially if Darren Waller's out. Ruggs has quietly been so much better this season. He really hasn't been having a breakout season. He had 97 yards and a touchdown last week. He's gotten over 50 yards in each of his last 5 games. He was a top 15 receiver last week against the Broncos. Yeah, I would probably go Ruggs. Is Tyler Boyd versus Dante Pettis? Oh, God. Probably Tyler Boyd, man. Probably Tyler Boyd. I don't feel great about Dante Pettis. Gibson or McKissick? Yeah, this is the one of the questions of the week. I would go McKissick. Pick one for flex. Darnell Mooney or Tyler Lockett? Yeah, Matt, there's such similar options this week. I would probably go with Tyler Lockett. It is really close, though. Bateman, Marquise Brown, Waddle, pick 2. Yeah, I'd probably just go Marquise Brown and Waddle. I think Marquise Brown's still squarely ahead of Rashad Bateman. I like Bateman this week, but I'd probably just go the latter. Julio or Mike Davis? I love Mike Davis this week. It is Mike Davis week. The free prop pick of the day is Mike Davis over 45.5 rushing yards. The Dolphins have allowed at least one running back to rush for over 65 yards in every single game they played this season. So I think Mike Davis goes over 60 rushing yards today. So I like Mike Davis. I like the other option that starts the decision too, though. Risk starting Waller. No, Tyler. I think you want to the ideal situation if you have Darren Waller is you pick up a tight end that plays after Darren Waller does. So if he doesn't play, you have a backup option. I think the best option is O.J. Howard. because O.J. Howard plays after Darren Waller. He's available in over half of leagues on ESPN and Yahoo. And there's no Gronk or Antonio Brown this week. So I think O.J. Howard could see an increased role. And he actually had over 40 yards last week. But if Darren Waller plays, you're going to want to start him. Though he's going to be playing less than 100%. But Darren Waller at like 70% is still better than 100% of most other tight ends, because tight ends are just absolute dumpster fire again this season. Love the app. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, guys, if you haven't tried out the WalterPicks app yet in the iOS App Store, you got to check it out. It's going to help you with all the start sit decisions I'm seeing. And it's also going to help you with trades, DraftKings, FanDuel, player props, everything. All right, thoughts on trading Adam Thielen. Thielen is such an enigma for me every season, because all Adam Thielen does is score touchdowns. The dude is a touchdown machine, and he has been for so many years in a row now. Last season, 14 touchdowns. He's already got 5 this season. He has the 4th most touchdowns in the league. And he's the 8th most catches in the league, too. I don't think trading Adam Thielen makes that much sense. He had 13 targets last week, 126 yards and a touchdown. He's now got 5 touchdowns, it looks like. He's 5 total touchdowns in the season. Did I say 4 before? No, he's at 5. Yeah, he's the 4th most touchdowns, 5 total touchdowns. I don't think you should be trading Adam Thielen. Drop Marvin Jones to pick up a tight end? Yeah. Yes. McLaurin or Godwin? I'd go Godwin. I think you have to start Godwin and Mike Evans. There's no Antonio Brown. There's no Rob Gronkowski. So, yeah, you got to start them. Robert Woods or T. Higgins? I would probably lean towards Robert Woods over T. Higgins. I don't feel good about Robert Woods. Darius Slayton, question mark. Yeah, Slayton is the top receiver for the Giants today. It's him and Dante Pettis. I would still, if you're looking for an upside play, though, Jordan, I still like McCole Hardman as a higher upside play than Darius Slayton. I think McCole Hardman is the definition of high upside. I mean, the guy is an Olympic level. He has Olympic level speed. He is the clear number 2 wide receiver for the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill dealing with a quad injury. McCole Hardman's played over 65% of the snaps back-to-back weeks. He has 5 targets last week, 12 targets the week before. The fact that McCole Hardman has 12 targets in his range of outcomes is just insane. The upside is really crazy for him. If he gets 10 targets in this game, he could easily finish as a wide receiver 1. So McCole Hardman is the definition of upside. McKissick or Jacoby Myers? Close one, man. I would play Julio Jones over McCole Hardman, though, for sure. McKissick is probably safer than Jacoby Myers, but I like Jacoby Myers a lot this week, too. The problem is the Patriots could run a lot in this game, so I'd probably lean towards McKissick. He's selling high on Deebo Samuel. I don't think that's the worst idea. I mean, Deebo Samuel is good. Don't get me wrong. Deebo Samuel is very good. Arguably the best yards after the catch receiver in the NFL. But this week, in a game that's going to have wind over 30 miles an hour, really bad rain, I'm nervous about it. But long term, I don't know if now is the best time to sell. Pick 2, please. Julio, J.D. McKissick, James Conner, and Ramondre Stevenson. App is money, by the way. Oh, and thanks, man. And yeah, the Ramondre Stevenson hype train has ended. And it ended very promptly about, I think, 30 minutes to an hour ago. Bill Belichick called us up and said, sorry, the hype train for Ramondre is going to have to wait another year because he's a healthy scratch this week. Bill Belichick does not care about our fantasy football teams. Surprise, surprise. So we are not starting him this week. And honestly, he's probably going to be droppable. But for the rest of your question, I'd probably go Julio Jones and James Conner. James Conner's in a really good spot. James Conner is an 18-point favorite against the Texans today. 18 points. And if that comes to fruition, if the game is that big of a blowout, it's going to be a good James Conner game. He has really, really high touchdown upside. Like there's an over a 50% chance James Conner scores a touchdown today. And then Julio Jones is playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. He played 2/3 of the snaps a week ago for the Titans, and he's just in such a good matchup today against the Chiefs. The Chiefs secondary has not slowed anyone down. Pick 2, Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf. Yeah, just go with those first 2, Timmy. Go with those first 2. Both are in good matchups. I'm seeing Cordell Patterson or Pittman. You have to bench Pittman this week. Bench Michael Pittman. Bench Brandon Ayuk. This game has 30-mile-an-hour winds and torrential downpour. The whole, at least at the start of the game, it's going to be bad tonight. 49ers versus the Colts. And then on top of that, players in the past have actually complained about the 49ers field when it rained. So, the field is even worse than it probably would be in another stadium. Start 1, Gaskin, Jacoby, AJ Green. Yeah, I'd go Jacoby Myers. I don't want anything to do with Gaskin. Mike Davis, Michael Carter, Rashad Penny, pick 2. Yeah, it's the first 2. You can't trust Rashad Penny. This week you can't trust him. It looks like Alex Collins is going to play. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the like button. They added the like button on TikTok. I do appreciate that. Hit the follow button too if you're not following us on TikTok yet. Putting out weekly, daily TikTok content. And also hit the subscribe button on YouTube as well. We're almost at 5,000 YouTube subscribers, which is super exciting. Patterson or Davis? This is Mike Davis week, but I would still play Cordero Patterson over him. I think you should start both though. The Dolphins again. Sam, I need one of those hats. There is a store that anyone can go to buy one of these hats. Go to the WalterPicks website, WalterPicks.com. Click on store, and then just scroll down a little bit. There's tons of different stuff there. We got blankets, we got hats, tons of stuff as the cold weather starts rolling in. Edmonds or Chuba Hubbard? Yeah, you can't not play Chuba Hubbard this week. Chuba Hubbard. Let me pull up my top 10 running backs again. You can see this on the YouTube live stream. My top 10 running backs. You'll see Chuba Hubbard is in the top 6. He's averaging 20 carries, 80 rushing yards a game over his last 2 games, and he's favored today against a bad Giants team. I think the Panthers destroyed the Giants, by the way. I took the Panthers as one of my locks of the week, I think, against the Giants. Corey Davis or Henry Ruggs? Yeah, I'd go Henry Ruggs. Sell high on Dalvin Cook because of injuries? Yeah, are you really selling high on Dalvin Cook if he's injured? Like, I don't know. He's back, I guess, but I wouldn't be selling Dalvin Cook, no. Slayton or Pettis? Oh, God, man. Bypocalypse. Here we are. It's week 7. We're less than an hour away from kickoff, and we are really debating Darius Slayton versus Dante Pettis. And honestly, I would lean towards Darius Slayton, but I will not be surprised at all if Dante Pettis out-targets and outperforms Darius Slayton. Dante Pettis last week had 11 targets. He only played half the snaps, but he had 11 targets. Turned that into 5 catches, 48 yards, which isn't great. And most of his targets were close to the line of scrimmage, whereas Darius Slayton, like, he is going to be more of a deep threat, which I think is better. But 11 targets for Dante Pettis last week against the Rams. Like, he could easily see another 10 targets this week. He honestly is an interesting option on DraftKings and FanDuel now. And yeah, I would lean towards Slayton still, but it really is like flip a coin. And don't feel good about either of them, really. A.J. Brown or Allen Robinson? Yeah, you need to, Kate, you have to start A.J. Brown. You have to start Julio Jones. The Chiefs secondary is not good. I know you don't like Gaskin, but I'm starting Tua, Gaskin, or Carter. But you're starting Tua. Yeah, I would go Carter, definitely. Really having trouble benching Carter for Bateman. Ravens or Jets or 49ers D this week? Ravens, Jets, 49ers, probably 49ers in this like super windy game is becoming a better option. Really having trouble benching Carter for Bateman. Even Walter saying start Carter, Sam. Oh, God. I know Carter could get a bad game script, but let's not forget New England is a 2-4 team. Yeah, Philip, you're right. Michael Carter definitely has a safer floor than Rashad Bateman. I mean, he's going to touch the ball more. He's going to touch the ball more than Rashad Bateman. The Patriots, by the way, I said it earlier in the stream, the Patriots could lose this game. There's not a single team that the Patriots could not lose to. They almost lost to the Texans. The Texans are 18-point underdogs today, and the Patriots should have lost to the Texans. So, I mean, yes, any team could beat the Patriots. The Jets could beat the Patriots today. They're 7-point underdogs. They could beat the Patriots. I also think the Patriots could beat most teams, though. They've been close with a lot of good teams. They were close with the Buccaneers, close with the Dallas Cowboys. It's been a tough season for the Patriots. So, yeah, I mean, Michael Carter is safer. I do think Rashad Bateman is the higher upside play, though. Rashad Bateman scored 7 fantasy points last week in his first career game. And Sammy Watkins is out again this week. And Lamar Jackson has been the second most aggressive quarterback pushing the ball down the field this season. So I think a lot of things are lining up in a good spot for Rashad Bateman. But his matchup's not that good either. I mean, the Bengals have been good on defense. So yeah, I think, Philip, if you're not feeling good about it, you got to make your own decision. I give a lot of advice on these streams, and the WalterPicks app gives out a lot of advice. But at the end of the day, the most fun part about fantasy football is that you get to decide. So you got to make the decision. And I personally would go Bateman. But if you're feeling good about Carter, you got to go Carter. I want to pick up Cole Beasley. Do I drop Bateman, Ayuk, Laviska Shenault, or Alex Collins? Yeah, you should probably drop Ayuk. I posted a video about Ayuk recently. I just can't give up on the guy. He's so good as a rookie. But I mean, this isn't going to be a good Ayuk week, so he's probably going to be on the waiver wire for you next week anyway. Slayton or Devontae Smith? Yeah, definitely Devontae Smith still over Slayton. Hardman or W? Hardman, I guess, over W. I think you missed some letters there. Start Corey Davis. No, I don't feel good about Corey Davis. I think Jameson Crowder is going to have a better day than Corey Davis. Slayton or Robinson? Yeah, I would still go Robinson over Slayton. Dante Pettis had 11 targets last week. I mean, crazy. Hey, Sam, who would you rather have rest of season, Dalton Schultz or Logan Thomas? Yeah, probably Schultz. Can you show top 10 wide receivers? Yeah, of course. Let me pull these up. In these top 10 wide receivers, you will find both Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think both guys are must starts with Antonio Brown out. Like at least one, and probably both are going to have massive days. Mike Davis or Josh Jacobs? I would probably lean towards Josh Jacobs over Mike Davis. It is Mike Davis week. It's Mike Davis week. The Dolphins have allowed at least one running back to go over 65 yards in every single game so far this season. Mike Davis is probably going to go over 60 yards. He's probably going to score a touchdown today. But Josh Jacobs is in an even better spot. Josh Jacobs has seen at least 15 carries in each of the last 2 games. And he's also in a really good matchup. The Eagles have allowed the 5th most rushing yards per game to running backs this season. Josh Jacobs, 15-plus carries, 65-plus rushing yards back-to-back games. I think Josh Jacobs is a better play than Mike Davis. But I like both of them, and I think both are going to have good games. Gesicki or Julio at flex? We're not starting a tight end over Julio Jones in what should be the highest scoring game of the week. Start Julio Jones, guys. Start A.J. Brown. Start Julio Jones. Start Chris Godwin. Start Mike Evans. Don't overthink these guys. Lockett is much tougher. I would still probably start Tyler Lockett though in a lot of these questions. I would start him over T. Higgins. Yeah, though I do think T. Higgins is due for a bounce back game. Gibson or Michael Carter? Oh God, it's the Bypocalypse, and Michael Carter could easily outscore Antonio Gibson, but you still have to start Antonio Gibson over Michael Carter. Like you just can't. You can't be starting Michael Carter over Antonio Gibson. Both have bad game scripts projected. And Gibson's just a far superior player. So you got to go Gibson. Devontae Booker versus Michael Carter. That one's much closer. I mean, both also going to be negative game scripts, but I probably Devontae Booker. Honestly, I think all these receiver injuries for the Giants could mean more touches for Devontae Booker too. Like Devontae Booker has 20 touches well within his range of outcomes. So I'd probably go Booker. D-Hop or Woods? You can't be benching DeAndre Hopkins. Slayton or Waddle? Yeah, it's definitely still Waddle. Guys, Waddle had 13 targets last week. 13 targets. He gets the Falcons secondary today. No Devontae Parker. Jalen Waddle has 10 targets well within his range of outcomes this week too. So you got to feel good about Jalen Waddle. You got to feel good about Jalen Waddle. And you really have to feel good about A.J. Brown, Julio Jones too. 32-man league. Oh, my God. I can't believe there's other 32-man leagues. League is just hilarious. John Ross or T. Williams? Yeah, John Ross. I mean, John Ross at least is going to play, right? Who's T. Williams? I think there's multiple T. Williams, but honestly, the T. Williams I'm thinking of, I think, is out for the season. So yeah, don't play him. Mike Davis or Darrell Williams? Yeah, I'd go Mike Davis over Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams did really good last week. I'm not feeling guys good about him this week though. The Titans' weakness is in the pass. Like the Chiefs are going to throw all over the Titans. But I also think the Titans' offense can put up points against the Chiefs. And I don't think it's going to be as good of a game script for the Chiefs this week. Lockett or Pittman? Yeah, you can't start Pittman. Again, my favorite time of the year is this time of year, the fall. But something I look forward to all year long is I get to do part-time as a weather reporter on these live streams because there's always weather that impacts games. And I think a growing edge that you can gain in fantasy football is understanding when to panic about the weather and when to not panic about the weather. And so I did analysis on this last offseason. And I did statistical research on what weather impacts offenses the most. And my finding was that there was a statistically significant impact on offenses when the wind was over 25 miles an hour. And tonight we have wind over 30 miles an hour in the 49ers versus the Colts game in San Francisco. And it's going to be pouring rain. And we've seen players complain in the past about the 49ers field in the rain. So, yeah, you can't trust any of the passing attack in this game tonight. So, yeah, I like benching Michael Pittman this week. And I think you can consider benching Deebo Samuel, though Deebo Samuel is the one exception because he's just so good after the catch. Hollywood or A.J. Brown? It's A.J. Brown. Lamar or Stafford? It's got to be Lamar, man. You can't be benching Lamar. Miles Sanders or Michael Carter? Man, a lot of Michael Carter questions this week. People are feeling good about Michael Carter. This could be one of my biggest misses of the week. But I don't feel good about Michael Carter. 7-point underdog against the Patriots. I would definitely go Miles Sanders. I honestly don't think it's close. Deebo Samuel or Godwin? Yeah, it's got to be Godwin. With everything I just said about that 49ers game, and then also Antonio Brown's out, Rob Gronkowski out again, you got to go Chris Godwin. So much confidence this week, even in a tough matchup against the Bears. Goddard or Gesicki? Yeah, I'd go Goddard over Gesicki. Let me pull up my top 10 tight ends because I think tight end decisions are actually pretty tough this week, as usual. I mean, the tight end position is just so brutal. And Darren Waller dealing with an injury this week as well. So he is looking very questionable to play. Honestly, it seems like a true game time decision for Darren Waller. Let me refresh here. We got like 10, 15 minutes left in this live stream, guys. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Xavier Howard is active against the Falcons. That's good news for the Dolphins, but still that defense is going to struggle. Brandon Cooks or A.J. Brown? I'd go A.J. Brown. Deebo or A.J. Brown? I'd go A.J. Brown. I think you have to play A.J. Brown. I have A.J. Brown as a top 10 wide receiver this week. I don't know how you couldn't have him as a top 10 wide receiver. I know he's had stomach issues, and I'm telling you, we got to get A.J. Brown a personal chef or something. He's got to stop eating, like, no more fast food, A.J. Brown. You got to get the stomach right, man. Hopefully he does, because I know that stuff is not fun. But he's playing this week, and the Chiefs' secondary is just not good. So you got to start A.J. Brown. You got to start Julio Jones. I have A.J. Brown as my number 10 overall wide receiver this week. Mooney or Gesicki? Yeah. Again, I don't like starting tight ends over receivers or running backs. The tight ends are so bad, you really want to start two of them. Like every tight end, most tight ends, not every tight end, the vast majority of tight ends could score under 5 points any given week. Should I gamble and keep Waller in? Yeah, if you have Waller in, like Waller is, to me right now, a 50-50 shot to play. And if he plays, you're probably going to want to start him because that's how bad tight ends are. Like even if he's playing at less than 100%, you still want to play Darren Waller. But he could be out, and he doesn't play until the later games. So I would go try to add O.J. Howard or even add his backup if you need to, so that you have at least some hope at the tight end position if he doesn't play. Gesicki or Ayuk? Yeah, you can't start Ayuk. You can't start Ayuk this week. You can't. He could start. He could literally. Ayuk could score 0 points this week. Burrow or Tannehill? It's got to be Tanny, man. You got to be trusting Ryan Tannehill. The Chiefs, in 6 of their games, they played 6 games. In 4 of them, they gave up a top 5 quarterback performance in fantasy football. 4 of them. So yeah, you gotta like Ryan Tannehill. You gotta like Ryan Tannehill. Pittman, Gibson, or McKissick? Yeah, I like McKissick a little bit more than Gibson. But it's close. I mean, obviously Gibson is the more talented back. He's dealing with injuries, though it seems like most of the injury news is trending in the right direction for Antonio Gibson. But, I mean, they're big underdogs today. I think the Packers are going to just dominate the Washington football team. I think that another defense that's given up a lot of top 5 quarterback finishes is the Washington football team. I think Rodgers has that upside this week. Let me walk through quickly game by game some of my thoughts. The Eagles are 3-point underdogs against the Raiders. Yeah, I love that. I think the Eagles win that game. The Bears, 11.5-point underdogs against the Bucs. Please let Justin Fields throw the ball. Can you just let Justin Fields throw the ball more than 30 times and see what happens? Chicago. Like, he has a very good deep ball, and you go up against a bad Buccaneer secondary. So just let him throw, and they could easily cover the 11.5-point spread. If they don't let him throw, they're going to get destroyed by the Buccaneers. Like, you just can't run the ball in the Bucs. The Bengals, 6.5-point underdogs against the Ravens. The Bengals defense has been good, so I'm going to take the 6.5 there, but I think Ravens win. One of my 2 locks of the week is the Panthers, 3-point favorites against the Giants. That one's only looking better and better with all these injuries for the Giants. And guys, it is the Bypocalypse. I'm seeing a lot of Rashad Bateman questions. We're all in on Rashad Bateman this week, McCole Hardman this week. Darius Slayton, Dante Pettis, all these guys are getting started in a lot of fantasy leagues. Devontae Freeman or Mark Ingram. You cannot be starting Mark Ingram as an 18-point underdog. An 18-point underdog against the Cardinals. I mean, there could not be a worse week to be starting Mark Ingram. So, yeah, definitely don't start Mark Ingram. And definitely start Devontae Booker. I mean, Booker is an interesting running back, too, this week. With so many injuries to the Giants, including Saquon Barkley, I think Devontae Booker has definitely starter potential, especially on the Bypocalypse week. Pettis, Slayton, or Julio? It's Julio, man. It's Julio. Listen to those three names that you just put next to each other. Dante Pettis, Darius Slayton, and Julio Jones. And Julio Jones gets the Chiefs. The Chiefs secondary is not good. I just told you they've allowed four top 5 finishes to quarterbacks this season. They really have been horrible against the pass. So you got to like Julio Jones and A.J. Brown a lot this week. Devontae Booker, last 2 weeks, he's averaging 14 carries a game and 4 targets a game. So 18 opportunities a game over the last 2 weeks. He's also averaging a touchdown a game. He's gone over 10 points back-to-back weeks. And one of those weeks came against the Rams. The other came against the Cowboys. So, yeah, you got to like Devontae Booker as a solid running back, too, this week. He honestly is probably in must-start territory at this point. Rondale Moore or Darnell Mooney? Yeah, this week, Angel, I'd like Darnell Mooney a little bit more than Rondale Moore. I do like Rondale Moore long-term, though. I think he's going to bounce back, and he should not be on any waiver wires. Bateman or Myers? Yeah, I'd go Myers over Bateman. I said this earlier, too. Jacoby Myers is close to the all-time record of most receiving yards without a touchdown in the NFL. Brandon Cooks or A.J. Brown? You got to start A.J. Brown. You have to start A.J. Brown. You have to start Julio Jones. You have to start Jalen Waddle, who saw 13 targets last week, and no Devontae Parker this week. You want to start Chris Godwin and Mike Evans this week with no Antonio Brown and no Rob Gronkowski. You got to feel good about Devontae Booker and Damian Harris this week as well. Damian Harris, no Ramondre Stevenson, 7-point favorite against the Jets. He scored a touchdown last time they played. Same thing with James Conner. A lot of touchdown upside for James Conner this week. He's a huge favorite. Sanders or Gibson? Yeah, I'd go Sanders over Gibson. Yo, Hardman, Mooney, Slayton, Callaway, Bateman, pick 2. Yeah, I would go Hardman and Bateman there. I'm playing Hardman and Bateman in my DraftKings head-to-head league this week. I feel pretty good about them. I think Bateman's floor is 7 points. I think his ceiling is much higher. I think he could score his first career touchdown today. So I would go Bateman. And I also do like Mecole Hardman's ceiling in this game. Chiefs versus Titans. Julio Jones, A.J. Brown active. This game could easily finish with the most points of the week. Mahomes or Stafford? You're never allowed to bench Matthew. You're never allowed to bench Patrick Mahomes. You just can't bench Patrick Mahomes. Mike Evans or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, definitely Mike Evans. Again, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, you just need to start them. I like Brandon Cooks this week too. Mecole Hardman or Lockett, half PPR, and Heineke or Jones? Oh God, yeah, I would probably go Lockett over Mecole Hardman. And I think you kind of have to go. I think you kind of have to go Daniel Jones still. I don't feel good about Taylor Heineke after his bad performance against the Chiefs. Damian Harris or Chase Edmonds? Yeah, it's got to be Harris. Chase Edmonds is not in a great spot this week. It's definitely setting up better for James Conner this week than Chase Edmonds. Waddle or Damian Harris? In a PPR league, I still think you can go with Waddle. But Damian Harris is a really safe floor, guys. Really safe floor. He's going to see at least 15 carries today. Could easily go for 100 yards and a touchdown. Slayton or Allen Robinson? Yeah, it's got to be A-Rob for me still over Slayton. It's not a good sign for Slayton that Dante Pettis saw 11 targets last week. Did Slayton even play? Because all of these Giants receivers have been in and out with injuries every single week. It's tough to keep track of how many injured Giants players there are. Like they're all like playing. No, he hasn't played since week 3. Darius Slayton has not played since week 3. And Dante Pettis had 11 targets. Like it really is a flip of the coin between those two. I don't feel great about either of them. But one of them at least is going to lead this team in targets. But I think Devontae Booker could get some extra touches too. Fields or Heineke? Yeah, I go Fields this week. I actually think Fields in a GPP, a tournament on DraftKings FanDuel, there's going to be a week, guys, where Justin Fields wins someone $1 million. And it could easily be this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is going to be a game where the Bears really it's not going to be up to the Bears whether or not Justin Fields has to throw the ball a lot today. He just has to keep up with this team. So this could be a big Justin Fields week. And we already saw him have a big rushing day last week too. He combines a big passing day with a big rushing day, and all of a sudden Justin Fields is going to win someone $1 million on DraftKings. Walter says Edmonds, but I'm worried about Connor. Yeah, I still like Edmonds more than Higgins, though. I don't love T. Higgins this week. Damian Harris or Elijah Mitchell? Yeah, it's got to be Damian Harris. Best waiver wire receiver. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of waiver wire receivers right now. I think Rashad Bateman is probably my favorite if he's still available. I also think Mecole Hardman, if he's available, has a lot of upside. We also, with all the injuries to the Giants, Darius Slayton and Dante Pettis, both probably available on a lot of waiver wires. Dante Pettis for sure. And both startable this week. Dante Pettis had 11 targets last week. Bateman or Myers? Yeah, I would go Myers over Bateman still. Mike Davis or Chase Edmonds, full PPR. It is Mike Davis week, guys. The free prop pick of the day is Mike Davis. Over 45.5 rushing yards. The Dolphins have allowed at least one running back over 65 rushing yards in every single game this season. So yeah, Mike Davis probably going to go over 60 yards. Or Cordero Patterson, probably going to go over 60 yards. Both of them are really good options this week. I like Cordero Patterson more than Mike Davis, but the prop is just set way too low for Mike Davis, 45.5 against the Dolphins. And the Falcons are just never going to be favored like this season. This could be the only game they're favored all season. Guys, we got a couple minutes left in the live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. Seriously, I appreciate your time this morning. Time to me is the most valuable thing to have in life. So I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I did try to get to as many questions as I can. As always, we always end the live streams on the YouTube Live because it's easier for me to answer questions on the YouTube Live, and I can give just a little bit more info on the YouTube Lives. So we're going to end the TikTok live stream right now. TikTok, everyone watching on TikTok, thanks so much for tuning in. You can join the rest, the last 5-10 minutes of live on YouTube. Come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. We're almost at 5,000 YouTube subscribers, which is super exciting. So hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Come to the YouTube Live too. I'm going to go rapid fire answering questions for the next 5-10 minutes before we wrap up the stream. Guys, good luck this Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. All right, YouTube Live. Let's go rapid fire here into the comment section because it is 30 minutes till kickoff, man. 30 minutes. We are 30 minutes away from kickoff. How you feel about Ramondre Stevenson as a healthy scratch? Man, Thomas, I hope this is not a sign of a bad Sunday to come, man, because I was feeling really good about Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson looks like the most efficient running back for the Patriots. He passes the eye test. And Brandon Bolden, it's so tough as a Patriots fan right now, and I know nobody wants to hear Patriots fans complain, but Brandon Bolden, you look back at the good Patriots teams, and Brandon Bolden was a special teams player on the best Patriots teams. And now he's our number 2 running back and getting important touches on third down. Just ridiculous, man. Just ridiculous. But I mean, Bill Belichick has never cared about our fantasy football teams. I still think Ramondre Stevenson could work out for the Patriots long term. And I think he could take the James White role. But clearly, I was over-optimistic on Ramondre Stevenson. And I do think this boosts Damien Harris a little bit too. Damien Harris is locked into at least 15 carries now. Panthers -3.5, Chiefs -4.5. Yeah, I like both those. I'm pumped to hear that the Panthers line is moving a little bit too because that was one of my locks, Panthers -3. But yeah, I like both those. I think I like Panthers more though. Dante Pettis or Russell Gage PPR. Avery, you cannot be starting Russell Gage. I know there's going to be a week where Russell Gage does well. But, I mean, Russell Gage has been one of the least efficient wide receivers in the NFL this season. He's playing. He's out there. He's running routes. And he's just doing nothing. I mean, he's played 2 games. And he's had 9 targets. He's turned 9 targets and 28 yards. I feel like Russell Gage is like the modern-day Chris Hogan for the Patriots. Chris Hogan used to just run. He was out there every snap for the Patriots, just running routes, but never got targets. I don't know. You can't start Russell Gage. Do you think Michael Thomas will be active this week? Is that a thing? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Unless I missed some big piece of news, which I don't think I did. No. All right. Bateman or Slayton? Yeah, I still like Bateman more than Slayton. Start Freeman or Alex Collins? Don't start Alex Collins. I would start Freeman. Pitts or Gesicki? Yeah, gotta go Pitts. Elijah Mitchell or Booker? Oh, Dexter. This one's getting closer. I still want to say Elijah Mitchell. But it's close. CB Fishing here. Good to see you, Colton. Start 2, Julio, Gibson, Damien. Yeah, I would go Julio and Damien Harris, man. I think you got to start Julio Jones against the Chiefs. Julio actually played 2/3 of the snaps last week, and he appears to be somewhat healthy this week. This game could just be there could be so many points scored in this game. So Julio Jones has a good chance at a touchdown. And Damien Harris is just in the smash spot too as a favorite against the Jets. And he's going to see at least 15 carries in this game. The Patriots want to be a run-heavy team, by the way. So, I mean, Damien Harris has a lot of upside and a pretty good floor. Justin Fields or Derek Carr? Yeah, you got to go Derek Carr. But I do think Justin Fields has a lot of upside. And I think he's a really good tournament option on DraftKings and FanDuel. Mooney or Julio Jones? Yeah, I'd go Julio Jones. What do you think of Winston this week? Winston is honestly similar to me to Justin Fields, where he's just not getting to throw the ball a lot. So the volume is so low for Winston. He needs to hit on so many deep plays to actually have a chance to return fantasy value. So I'm not feeling good about it. He threw 30 pass attempts last week, which is the most he's thrown all season. But every other game, he has not eclipsed 23 passing attempts. So, like, that's pretty concerning. And that lowers his ceiling and floor significantly. Antonio Brown or Tyler Lockett and Gibson PPR. For Tyler Lockett and Gibson PPR long term, yeah, I would do that. I would definitely do that. Pittman, Robinson, or Gibson. You can't start Pittman this week because there's going to be wind gusts over 30 miles an hour and really bad rain. So, Kane, you got to get Pittman as far away from your starting lineup as you can. Gibson versus Allen Robinson is a tough one. I want you to start Allen Robinson because I do think the ceiling is high, but the floor is just so low. I think I would go Allen Robinson, though, man. Like, this is a game that Allen Robinson needs to do well. I would go Allen Robinson. I don't feel good about Antonio Gibson. I did a trade. Did I lose? Moss and Booker for Sanders. Yeah. If you got Miles Sanders, you won the trade. So good work. Great. Hopefully you use the WalterPicks trade analyzer to help you out, too. Woods or Hubbard. You have to start Chuba Hubbard this week. You got to start Chuba Hubbard this week. All right, we're going to rapid fire in the comments. We got like 3 minutes left. Jacoby Myers, T. Higgins, Hardman, PPR. He's got to be Myers, but I do like Hardman this week too. Yeah, we already answered this one. Hubbard over Robert Woods all day. Julio over Darius Slayton is honestly not even close. Jacoby Myers, T. Higgins. I think I answered this one too. I'd go Myers, then Hardman, then Higgins. Myers, Gibson. A lot of Gibson questions. Gibson or Booker? Oh, man. I think you got to go Gibson. I feel like Booker's going to touch the ball more, but it's close. It's close. Personally, I would go Gibson, but I would not knock anyone for going. I would not knock anyone for going with Devontae Booker there. I would go with Matt Ryan over Derek Carr. The Dolphins' defense is not good, even though Xavier Howard's playing. Gainwell, Damian Williams, or Freeman. I need 2 between the 3. Yeah, happy Bypocalypse week, Michael. I would probably stay away from Gainwell. Miles Sanders played 90% of the snaps last week. So the floor for Gainwell is close to 1 point. I'd probably go Damian Williams and Freeman. Josh Jacobs or Damian Harris. Both super similar options this week. I actually like Josh Jacobs more than Damian Harris, though. I like both a lot, but I think I like Josh Jacobs more. Good matchup. He's seen 15-plus carries, 65-plus yards in back-to-back games. I like Ruggs more than Hardman. Yeah, you got Sanders. Grant, that's fire. Hardman or Carter. I've told so many people to bench Michael Carter today, which is going to make him doing well against the Patriots even worse for me on this Sunday afternoon. But yeah, I would probably go Hardman over Carter. I mean, Hardman just has such a higher ceiling than Carter. What's the ceiling for Michael Carter? What is the best case scenario for Michael Carter today? What, 15 touches, 75 yards, and a touchdown? That's got to be best case scenario for Michael Carter. Like, if that happens, you're feeling fantastic about Michael Carter. And that's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be closer to 10 carries, 10 touches, and 50 yards, and no touchdown for Michael Carter. Hardman's ceiling is significantly higher. He could go over 100 yards and a touchdown easily. But the floor is definitely lower for Hardman. Hardman could also end the game with 2 catches, 20 yards. Like, that would not be that surprising. I like to go for the ceiling, man. So I would go Michael Hardman. But if you're going for the locked-in points, then you go Michael Carter. Thoughts on Pettis as a cheap DK play? Yeah, Nick, you got to like it. He had 11 targets last week. 11 targets last week. So, especially in a head-to-head contest, you got to strongly consider Dante Pettis. But it's Dante Pettis. So the floor is still low. Dante Pettis has not been good for a while. So yeah, I think he does have cheap DK play though, potential. He's basically minimum price. Bateman or Hardman? I think these are another 2 really low price guys on DraftKings that I like this week. Bateman's almost minimum price too. I think Bateman has a higher floor, lower ceiling. Higher floor, lower ceiling. I personally would go Bateman though over Hardman. Top 10 wide receivers this week. Yeah, let me pull them up really quickly as I answer some final questions here and we wrap up. Guys, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the YouTube channel, you got to go do that. I'd go Julio Jones over Jacoby Myers. Khalif Raymond versus Khalil Herbert. Man, 2 guys, man, that we did not expect to be talking about at all this season. Honestly, I think the majority of NFL fans did not know who either of these guys were going into the season. This is what the Bypocalypse is all about, man. I feel like you got to go with Raymond, though. I mean, Herbert is in such a bad spot this week. The Buccaneers' rushing defense has been so good. And I know Herbert's coming off a really big game. He did really well last week, over 100 yards and a touchdown, I think. But Damian Williams is back, and Damian Williams didn't play last week. And you just look at how running backs have done against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're just not going to feel good about Herbert. Herbert's floor is below 5 points this week. I would go Raymond. Raymond actually had a lot of targets last week, too. I think Raymond's over-under, too, was like 40 yards, which I thought was pretty good. So I would go Khalif Raymond. All right, time for a couple more questions. McKissick, Robert Woods, full PPR. I'd go Robert Woods. I think Matthew Stafford could have a massive day against his former Detroit Lions. Bateman or A-Rob, I like Bateman more, but again, Liam, I would say A-Rob has a higher ceiling than Bateman. Debo, Terry, A.J. Brown, pick 2. With the win tonight, I would go Terry McLaurin, and A.J. Brown. Definitely A.J. Brown here. If you're not going to panic about the wind, which I think you should, 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts tonight for the 49ers, but I think it affects Debo Samuel the least, then just go with Terry McLaurin. Just go with Terry McLaurin. I'll go Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown. But it is close. I think Debo Samuel could still do really well. All right, last question of the day. To wrap up Bypocalypse, Corey Davis, Allen Robinson, Darius Slayton, pick 2. Yeah, go with the last 2. We're not feeling great about Corey Davis this week. Darius Slayton looks like the number 1 receiver for the Giants. Go with Darius Slayton. Go with Allen Robinson. Hopefully at least one of them pops off. I think both have a pretty high ceiling at least. I don't know how you got all these receivers on one team. But if I had to choose between these receivers, I'd probably go Ridley and Chase, honestly. I want to start A.J. Brown too, but these are good receivers. I think all of these receivers are in my top 10. Yeah, I've Ridley at number 3, Chase at number 7, Hopkins at number 6. So I guess Ridley and Hopkins, they're all going to do well. They all should do well, at least. Jacoby Myers or Hunter Renfrow. Last but not least, guys, I'm going Jacoby Myers. I hope he gets his first touchdown of the day because of his career. He is about to break the record for the most receiving yards in the history of the NFL without a touchdown. He hasn't scored a touchdown since college. So, come on, Jacoby Myers. Find the end zone. He actually scored, I think, last week, and there was a penalty. So, this is the week, man, for Jacoby Myers. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. We'll be back live Thursday night. Might do a stream tomorrow night, too. Test out the TikTok feature where followers can join the live and get some live follower questions tomorrow night in potentially a live stream. Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck this Sunday. And hopefully, Michael Carter does not have a huge game because I feel like I told a lot of people to bench Michael Carter today. Have a good one, guys. We'll talk soon. Thanks for tuning in.